What's up, everyone? Welcome to a special edition of the Sports Reality. It's your boy Jeremy John, aka the fourth greatest grenadian of all time, aka the Little Wayne of podcasts, because I will get on any podcast and hit it with a J train. We have cousin Big Thad with us today. Big Thad, what's going on? And my boy Tillman.
What up?
We're not gonna put your whole government name out there today. I
mean, my government name's out here in these journalism streets, so it's all good. It's all good.
How's everything going with you guys?
Go ahead, Thad.
I'm good, cuz I'm good.
Thad, where you heading, man?
Man, I'm headed to Bowie, your neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? I'm headed to Bowie right now. Go play some pool, whatnot, pool league. But yeah, other than that, I'm good, man. Another day in the life.
Hey, that's what's up, Tillman. It's great to definitely have you on here for
you know what I mean?
Another time. Definitely have you here. We're greatly appreciate it. We are going to basically discuss NBA free agency, which has started about 3 minutes ago. We already got some good news coming out of it, so let's drop the sound effect right now if I can find it. I can't remember where I put it.
We done increased the production quality around here. You got drops and sounds and all sorts of videos. We done come up since the last time I was on here. All right, like me an upgrade.
Yep. So, first news since free agency broke, according to Shams. We have Lonzo Ball has agreed to a contract with the Chicago Bulls, 4 years, $85 million, according to the CEO of Clutch Sports, Rich Paul, who tells The Atlantic. We also have some more news. Tim Hardaway Jr. has agreed to a 4-year, $72 million deal to return to the Dallas Mavericks, according to The Atlantic. Free agent Mike Conley Jr. has agreed to a 3-year, $68 million deal to return to the Utah Jazz. And Boban Marjanovic has agreed to a deal to re-sign with the Dallas Mavericks so far. So, Tillman, first thing, Lonzo Ball to the Bulls. How do you like that?
Well, first thing I need to say is that I hope everybody get paid, right? Like, I hope everybody who walked in there with a number that they thought was a fair number for them. And they get that number and then some, because in the world of millionaires and billionaires, I'm going to side with the millionaires. Secondly, I think you just want to think about how fun it could be rather than any of the deficiencies. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's interesting as a sports fan that, like, sometimes, and I'm guilty of it too, but when there's like a big splash, a big trade, a big signing, the first thing you think about is all the negative things. Like, you know, the latest example is Russ going to the Lakers. And, like, the first thought was, like, you know, ain't nobody going to be making no threes. You know, the Ram needs to get some insurance. You know, all kind of sort of stuff like that. Instead of the fun of having LA-born Russell Westbrook in Los Angeles playing for the Lakers and possibly vying for a championship. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's the first thing. But as far as, like, Lonzo to a team like Chicago, I mean, it's a good fit. Like, Lonzo's a good player. Like, I don't know if Lonzo will be a great player, but Lonzo's a good player. He does what he's good at. He's good at. He's a really good rebounding guard. He's a really good defensive guard. He's 6'6". He's quick. He's athletic. He's not the flair and flash of his little brother, but that's usually how it goes with little brothers. Like, the little brother, because he's the baby, he get away with a whole lot of stuff. So that's why LaMelo Ball plays like a troll, because he probably been trolling his brother since he could first pick up a basketball. Lonzo was the case study, so they could prove that one of them could make the pros. That's why he's quiet. That's why he's like, his game's a little more like system based. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not super flashy, even though he's a very good basketball player. If he fits with them, because he's a pass first guy, and you got a bona fide scorer in Zach LaVine. You got a really good all-star big in Nikola Vucevic, and you got Kobe White, who now you relieve him of point guard duties, and you give the ball to somebody who's willing to pass it. So that's what you need on a team where people want the ball and dribble, and they need it in their spots and attack and stuff like that. you complement them with somebody who's just willing to pass it, and then he will knock down the occasional three. Lonzo's shooting has come a very, very long way. So it's a solid move. Like I said, my thing is about the contracts, man. Go get paid. Like, if they paying you $80 million, go get paid. Play basketball.
Big Thad, how do you feel about the Lonzo Ball agreement so far with the Chicago Bulls?
I think it's pretty good for Lonzo. He needs something different. You know what I'm saying? There's not really too many superstars on that team. You know what I'm saying? So he could be chill. You know what I'm saying? He'll hopefully have, should have Levine, of course. With the Laurie Markkinen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sure if I have his last name right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Hopefully they'll have him back. That should be a good fit for him. That should be a good fit for him with those two. You know what I'm saying? What you have to worry about.
I definitely think it's a good signing, not only for the Chicago Bulls. You get a bona fide point guard. They haven't had a point guard since Derrick Rose. It's like it's just been a revolving door of different guys coming in there. So it's good that they're able to get a point guard, but also Lonzo Ball. He's finally going to a team that seems like they really want him. And also, he gets to control his destiny. He was obviously drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers, traded to the Pelicans for the Anthony Davis deal, but now he gets to control his destiny. And I think pairing him with Zach LaVine, who's a bona fide scorer, pairing him with a big man in Vucevic, who yes, people may say the post game is not the thing, but it's Vucevic is a very formidable big man in the NBA. So I think that it's going to be a good pairing. He's also in the East, a little less pressure on the nightly basis. Not saying that Eastern Conference point guards are not good. It's just it's going to be less of a hassle. So I think that's I think it's going to be better for Lonzo Ball. We do have some more breaking news. Jimmy Butler will be re-signing a Supermax contract with the Miami Heat. That was pretty much expected. I don't think any of y'all thought any different for that one.
I mean, I didn't even know Jimmy Butler was a free agent. I was like, he's just gonna be there. Like, I figured that was his last stop, before he retired. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He's expected to sign basically a maximum contract extension with the Miami Heat when the league year opens on August 6th. The max contract is expected to be 4 years, close to $184 million per reports.
Ooh.
Yep. Tim Hardaway Jr. Do you think that was a good contract for the Dallas Mavericks to 4 years, $72 million?
Here's what's funny about his contract, right? So, he was drafted by the Knicks. I don't know, the people don't know, but I am a Knicks fan. So he was drafted by the Knicks, and then he was traded to Atlanta. He signed with Atlanta, right? When the Knicks signed him back, he signed for 4 years and $71 million, and people were like, "That's too much money for him." Mm-hmm. And so now that he got traded in the Kristaps deal and the Porzingis deal, and as he enters free agency, he signs again for 4 years and $70-something million, and it's like, that's the going rate for, a solid starting shooting guard that he can knock it down, like he can shoot it when he's streaky, but he can definitely knock it down. I think with players like him and even players like Lonzo, and Thad alluded to it, like sometimes you got to go to the right fit. I mean, that's what it is for everybody, really. Like, there are only like a few, like, it don't matter where we play, I'm going to be productive, we going to win, we all going, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's only like maybe like 8 guys in NBA that can say that. Everybody else, the fit matters where they are. And for somebody like Tim Hardaway Jr., you get to a place where, Luka does shoot a lot and Porzingis shoots a lot, but you're going to get your fair share of shots. You're not going to get the best defender on you because the best perimeter defender is going to guard Luka. So he's in the best place for him to be the best player he can be. I don't know how close Dallas is to a championship compared to the other teams in the West, but for him individually, absolutely, to go back to where you're gonna, where you've been your most productive.
Right.
We have a question from the audience. Our boy Bernard Samuel.
Oh, B, what up?
Thoughts on the possibility of Dinwiddie to the Wizards?
First of all, I love Spencer Dinwiddie's game. Like my basketball, I don't want to say it's not a bias, but one of the player types I love in basketball are the free flowing guard, like the guard that can play the 1 or the 2, but no matter where you put him, it's going to be a bucket or a play made. He ain't got to necessarily be a superstar, but that's my favorite kind of player. Think like Jamal Crawford, CJ McCollum, like those kinds of guards where you just put the ball in their hands. You just tell them go play basketball and they'll make a play. Dinwiddie next to Bradley Beal works because Bradley Beal is one of the few superstars who can play with the ball, but he doesn't need to dribble a lot to get into what he's trying to do on the court. And Spencer Dinwiddie in the backcourt with him, now you have a really big backcourt because both of them are about 6'5". Mm-hmm. It does remain to be seen how he comes off that injury. Like we're talking multiple ACLs at this point because he tore his ACL before when he was in college. So he come back stronger. He definitely has the mentality to do so. That's a better backcourt mate for him. Not saying he's better than Russ, but if you're not going to have Russ on your team, there aren't too many other guards that can play next to Bradley Beal outside of the superstars, of course, that you can get that are better than Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yeah. To those who watched last week's episode, I'm still in my feelings that Russell Westbrook is not here. I felt like we should have at least a year of a decent head coach, and let's run it back with two All-NBA talent players. They agreed. They at least liked the hiring of Wes Unseld Jr. and then boom, Russell's out here. But now that we're here, I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie, you did mention coming off of the knee injury. From what reports were saying, even during the postseason, they were like, well, he seems good. It's just, we don't want to actually put him out there right now, especially since he's been gone all year. I know if it was a video game, you would definitely put Spencer Dinwiddie in there after Kyrie Irving went down with that injury. But real life, you can't really do that. Just throw someone in there for the playoff push. But yeah, man, I think now that Russell Westbrook is not here, I mean, I think it's a good look to definitely check out on him. We have some more breaking news. Tillman, let me know if you like this. Free agent guard Alec Burks has agreed to a 3-year, $30 million contract to stay with the New York Knicks, sources tell ESPN. You like that?
Oh, yeah. Like, the way the Knicks are built, I don't say they have everything because that's not true, but they have a lot of pieces to compete. That's why they were better than people thought they would be this past season. You have a playmaking forward who is a mismatch nightmare. You have a point guard in Derrick Rose who may not be the explosive athlete that he was, but he's a better basketball player than he was. Like, he might not be as productive as he used to be, but in terms of his decision making, he's a much better basketball player than he was with the Chicago Bulls. But what they're missing, one, they need a small forward, and that's where drafting Kevin Knox hasn't panned out yet. And two, when the bench comes in, you need a veteran guy that can settle everybody down. And again, to my previous point, you can give him the ball and say, look, the shot clock running down, we need you to make a play. And that's what Alec Burks is. Something about these Colorado guards, man. I like them a lot. He provides punch off the bench. Like, I wouldn't start him. Like, if he's your starting two guard, you're in trouble. But if he's coming off the bench when Derrick Rose was coming off the bench, and now with Emmanuel Quickly and that's a nice scoring backcourt that's probably better than a lot of other teams' second units.
Mm-hmm.
He can be in your fourth quarter lineup with RJ and with Derrick Rose if Derrick Rose comes back, and with Randall and whomever's playing center. At this point, I don't really know if Mitchell Robinson. I like Mitchell Robinson a lot, but he's always injured. And I like Nerlens a lot, but Nerlens isn't an offensive threat. So with having Alec Burks, I mean, it made sense. He seems like if he fit there in New York with Thibodeau, and I like the move a lot. Like, of course, they got to do more if they want to contend, but I like re-signing him for sure.
That's yep. Big Thad, what do you think about that? That signing for the New York Knicks, or re-signing?
I don't know Alec Burks. I don't pay attention to the Knicks. I don't pay attention to the Knicks, man. But they did. Since we're talking about the Knicks, they did re-sign Nerlens Noel though.
Yes, I was just about to get to that. Nerlens Noel. It is a 3-year, $32 million contract.
Good for him.
According to his agent, George Landberg. Jared Allen, restricted free agent, 5-year, $100 million contract. I think that's really good for both parties. I mean, $20 million
to stay with Cleveland.
Yeah, to stay with Cleveland. I mean, that's something that is manageable. If it ever gets to a point where he needs to be moved, you can easily move approximately $20 million per season. So I mean, I think that's a good contract for both parties. I do want to go back to the Lonzo Ball signing. It looks like it's going to be a signing trade. So it looks like Tomas Satoransky and Garrett Temple and a second-round pick will be going to New Orleans in exchange for Lonzo Ball. Let's talk about for the Pelicans side of this. They get Tomas Satoransky. They get Garrett Temple. They traded Steven Adams. I was about to say Steven Austin. Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe last week to the Grizzlies. Do you think these pieces are going to actually be like formidable in the West? And when I say formidable, at least a playoff contender in the West, Tillman?
What New Orleans needs is a veteran. Like they just need a veteran guard that the young boys respect. That can with young teams, the Knicks fall into this, Atlanta falls into this. Even Phoenix, like when it gets hectic and you get a little rattled, you need a player who you respect that isn't just in the locker room like Jared Dudley was for the Lakers, but you need somebody like how Lou Williams was for Atlanta, or even with Chris Paul going to Phoenix, where when it gets hectic, you need somebody to settle the team down. Like New Orleans is super talented. Like they're ridiculously talented, but they don't have anybody that settles it down when things get haywire. Like it doesn't necessarily mean that they got to take over. That player has to take over and score 30. Like you got Brandon Ingram there, you got Zion there. Like you even Valanciunas is a 20. Well, not a 20 and 10 guy, but he can be a 20 and 10 guy on some nights. So you have 3 offensive threats. I don't know if they have anybody in the backcourt that they can lean on to make a play. Like that's part of why Milwaukee got Drew Holiday and why they started putting the ball in Chris Middleton's hands, because when things get hectic, you need somebody to make a play on the perimeter. And Drew Holiday isn't going to, he might defer to Giannis and Middleton as their all-stars, and he's the third best player in a sense, but he's not going to be so timid that he's just out there just standing around. Like I'm not sure if that's what, because I like Tomas Satoransky, and Garrett Temple probably is going to replace Josh Hart for them because they're kind of a similar player. But you're not leaning on Josh Hart to make a play. You're not leaning on Tomas Satoransky to make a play. Like you need a guard that the other players that's a little older, that the other players can believe in. Like that's what they thought they had with Eric Bledsoe, and that's what they would have had with Drew Holiday. But those moves were made. They just don't play no defense. Like if they play some defense, they'd be a playoff team, but they don't play any defense. That's because you got a 6'6" power forward, and as much as Zion jumps out the gym, he's still not that tall. and the team is just not on a string defensively. They're not something with that chemistry is just not there defensively. And that's where a veteran player who still can play comes in handy. I don't know if those two players that they just picked up are, one, better than Lonzo Ball, because they're not, and two, like what you need in replacement of Lonzo Ball.
Yep. Got some more news. Free agent Kelly Olynyk has agreed to a 3-year, $37 million deal with the Detroit Pistons, according to his agent Jeff Schwartz. I had heard that he might have been going back to Boston, that Brad Stevens was trying to, get him back in Boston, that they were trying to get actually a few guys back in Boston. That is something I heard. Okay, there's still some big names out there that obviously we knew weren't going to make decisions right away. Let's get to them, though. Kawhi Leonard opted out yesterday out of his player option with the Los Angeles Clippers. Kawhi Leonard just had surgery on his knee. Reports say that it was a partially torn ACL. Tillman, do you think it's a partially torn ACL? Do you think it's something worse than that? Do you think it's something that he'll be fine in a few months? What do you think about that injury?
I think Kawhi's knees have been degenerating since 2017. Like, I think that was just the thing. I don't think he'll ever play 82 games in a season again. He will always have to be wary of the grind of the regular season for as long as he's effective. Now, I do think that when he's out there, he still has, plenty of time to be one of the 5 best players in the NBA. But as far as last year's go, when he sat last year, I figured that the ACL was worse than they let on. Because, even when you injured, you sit on the bench. You know what I'm saying? When Kyrie Irving rolled his ankle, he sat on the bench with the team. Like, Kawhi was up in the stands. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I was like, he definitely not playing no more. So I think it's interesting that he opted out, because normally if you're that injury prone, you tend to take the money. And then so you bet you take the money. You don't really bet on yourself if you're injury prone. But Kawhi, again, is one of the 5 best players in the NBA. So even if whatever he resigns for, it's a move to help the Clippers, or help his quest for I guess it would be a 3rd championship for him, right? Yeah, it's quest for a 3rd championship for him with his 3rd different team. You know what I'm saying? A close to hometown team anyway. So it's definitely not I don't think he'll get more money per year. But he also took less money in that deal anyway. Like, he could have had like 130, 140, and I think he signed for 105 or something like that. So, it hasn't been about the money for him, for a few years now. So the big one, I know we haven't talked about that, but the big one was Chris Paul opting out, because I'm not turning down $40 million nothing. Like, at 44, 40, and they like me. 44. Listen, y'all better work out the rest of the salary cap, because I'm coming in with the 44.
And that was something that was discussed even before he got traded to. It was a topic of a discussion when he was with the Rockets, where it was, will he ever opt out of that deal that he made? Not only it was a lot of money, but also he is head of the players. He's the head of the player reps of the Players Association. And everyone said, he was going to have to set the example that, hey, if you sign for a huge contract, you better get all of it from the owners. Don't try and take something less. And we that was when he was with Houston. He then gets traded to OKC, and everyone said, well, maybe he's going to try and opt out. And he was ultimately traded to the Suns, and they get to the finals, and we'll talk about that shortly, actually. But yeah, I'm actually shocked that he opted out, and it's not clear that, we already know that the Lakers, they already made the trade for Russell Westbrook. I just felt like if he opted out, the natural progression, and it may seem lazy, but the natural progression would be, hey, go play with the Lakers where you have LeBron and Anthony Davis. Now that Russell Westbrook is there, I'm kind of like, well, is this just to re-up and get more money? Or is he like really trying to make a move with him or someone else to go somewhere else? I'm not sure. Thad, what do you think about the Chris Paul decision to opt out of his contract?
I think he's going to stay, to be honest with you. I think he's just going to stay. It was just more of figuring out what he's going to do, how many more years he's going to play in the NBA. You know what I mean? So I think it'll probably be like a 3-year something, but it won't be that $40 million a season. You know what I'm saying? I think that's why he stayed off of the option to not have too much restrictions to the team. You know what I'm saying? So, but me personally, I've been taking the 40. I would definitely kept the 40. You know what I mean? But maybe it helps them out. You know, maybe they're money constricted a little bit with that 40. You know what I'm saying? So maybe that's why he didn't do it.
Yeah, yeah, man. That was another thing, and when we talk about, I want to go back to Kawhi Leonard, though. There was, according to Brian Windhorst, if Kawhi had stayed with the, I decided to not opt out, basically opt in, pretty much, that the Clippers would have had a chance to use a medical exemption because he looks like he's going to be out for the entire year, or at least late into the year. And they said if he didn't do that, then the Clippers could have got that exception to get basically more salary cap room to make an addition to the team. But because he opted out, then it's technically he's not on the team. So like, so it kind of hurt the Clippers. But I'm also kind of like, I mean, that's the Clippers' business to try and figure that one out.
That's what I'm saying. Go get your that is not. It is not on out.
I think we're having some technical difficulty with Tillman. He'll be here shortly. But yeah, I just think it ain't really Kawhi Leonard's business to be the GM on that team. And I think a lot of times...
Right. No. Yeah. No. That's not... He can't be GM. That's why they got a GM with the Clippers.
If you see what the... Okay. Am I back?
It's I hear you. There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Lord have mercy. We're having a lot of technical difficulties on this side of the situation.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying, like, it's not the player's fault. It's not the player's job to determine the salary. That's not they not player GM. They not player front office executive. If I'm as good as you say I am, pay me all my money, and you figure it out after that. The Warriors are about to be like $300-400 million in the luxury tax. They got 3 championships. I would venture to believe that even though every owner is about the bottom dollar in the revenue more so than winning a championship, at least the Warriors front office wants to compete for championships while they have the players to do so. You know, they kind of, I won't say they lucked up, because luck, it's a little bit of luck, but they drafted their dynasty for the most part outside of signing Kevin Durant. So, like, they got the benefit of those guys being together for a while and wanting to stay together. That doesn't mean that they ain't got to pay him. You don't see Steph Curry taking no pay cuts. Steph Curry took 1 pay cut because he was injury prone in the first part of his career, and they signed him for $44 million. He decided to go get some weights. He won some MVPs, and now he's signing for $200 million every time. Again. So if you Kawhi, a medical exemption, you know, I might come back, I might not. But, you know, that might help y'all, you know, fill the roster with some other people until I come back. That's cool. But that's not anything about my value. Pay me. Like, if you the Clippers, given how San Antonio handled the Kawhi situation, do you want to take the chance that you sit the Kawhi Leonard, or you trade Kawhi Leonard or whatever have you, and Kawhi Leonard's on another team, When the last time they gave up on Kawhi Leonard because of medical issues, that man led Toronto to a championship.
Perfect. Right.
Like I don't know if you want that idea when you the Clippers. You ain't got championships to your name that you be like, okay, well we the Clippers, whatever. It's just our little break. You don't have a championship. And that man wanted to play for y'all. So I would say you do right by him.
For sure. While it seems like we have a little lull in the signing news, I want to go back to the NBA Finals, Tillman. Giannis Antetokounmpo. We asked this question, I guess 2 episodes ago, or even was it 2 episodes? Yeah, 2 episodes ago. Where does Giannis Antetokounmpo, if he couldn't play a single game of basketball anymore, do you think his career is already better than someone like Karl Malone or Charles Barkley?
No. Because
okay.
Oh no, I was gonna say no. The reason why I say no is because greatness and longevity matter in individual greatness. Like, of course, he has the one thing that they don't have, the biggest thing they don't have, which is a championship ring and leading a team to, a championship ring and all those other kinds of things. And of course, there's a testament, we feed Michael Jordan's ego all the time. Both Charles Barkley and Karl Malone can say definitively that the reason why they did not have a championship is because of Michael Jordan. But at the same time, honestly, I think there were still better players than Giannis is at this point. Like that's not even because that's not even about Giannis, like lack of a jump shot or whatever have you. Like I enjoy Giannis for who he is as a basketball player. Do I want him to stop taking I dare you threes? Absolutely. But I enjoy him for who he is and what he is, because for all of what he isn't, he's not afraid to go through those things with his flaws. But as far as like if I had to stack their careers up in totality, no. But like he's like in terms of like what you've done before the age of 26, he's up there with anybody. But Barkley and Malone both played at least twice as many years as Giannis had. So, and like as much as Chuck is a character now, like his on court ability gets lost. Like for me, it just dawned on me for what he was. Charles Barkley was an MVP caliber scorer, and he's PJ Tucker's size. Like he's like he might be a little taller than PJ Tucker, but he played the same position as Chris Webber. Like that dude was ridiculous as a player. And Karl Malone, there are other reasons why I don't even want to talk about the man. But as a player, he was incredible as well. I can't, he retired second all time in points. Like that's a really big career accomplishment in comparison to somebody who's only 26.
Yeah, I pretty much said that, hey, he's not there yet. He has the potential if he continues on this trajectory. But like you said, longevity does matter. And that's why I asked the question in a way where it was, if he couldn't play basketball, here on out. But yeah, we do have some breaking news. TJ McConnell has agreed to a 4-year, $35.2 million deal to stay with the Pacers, according to his agent.
You saw my face. I am so sorry about that. I am so sorry.
He's like, DJ, what?
Hey man,
I am so sorry.
Tillman, you said it. You were like, yo, man, I congratulate these dudes on getting paid, man.
Get your money. Get your money, man.
Dollars. Look, it's so funny By the way, I mean, we could kind of make the case that he could get more. Like when you think about, I think this is a steal for like a team like the Pacers. And yes, it might be a hometown discount, but remember back in the day, a player of his caliber before the salary cap blew up to what it is, a player of his caliber might have been getting $2 or $3 million a year. You know, now you know with Ford, that's pretty much $9 million a year. Like almost tripled, and that's kind of what the deals are looking like right now.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
TJ McConnell, the Pacers. Now that we talk about them, they have a new head coach, Rick Carlisle. Karis LeVert should be healthy this year. Malcolm Brogdon should be healthy. Thad, what do you think is going to happen with the Pacers? Do you think they're going to be a legit playoff contender, or just they'll struggle at least, for the first year under Rick Carlisle?
No. I think it'll be a playoff contender, just with Rick Carlisle being there. I know their big thing last season was they just had no respect for the coach that they had.
They did not like that man. They did not like that man.
They were a solid team. They were a solid team last season. You know what I'm saying? But when you don't have that respect for your coach, man, it just.
I do have to break in with some real breaking. Down. I got to break in with some real breaking news.
Go ahead.
Tillman, you'll like this one, at least this time. Kyle Lowry just posted on Twitter, Miami and Kyle Lowry, let's go. And Wojnarowski just tweeted about a minute ago, 3-year deal and a sign and trade for Kyle Lowry, according to sources from CNN. Waiting for more details to come out, but it looks like it's a signing trade. I believe the discussion was around Goran Dragic and who was the other player? There was another player.
I forgot who the other dude was.
But yeah, they picked up Goran's. It was a team option, so they picked it up. So yes, we got one of the big names. Look like they're already going somewhere. I want you to continue with your thought, Thad, if you remember what you were saying.
No. I mean, I think they're going to be a playoff contender just because Rick Carlisle's there. I think they're going to have respect for Rick Carlisle. You know what I'm saying? I think Rick Carlisle can keep them solid. You know what I'm saying? It sucks. Like, I think they're going to like what he did with Luka and them in Dallas. Even though, they were first round exit out of the playoffs and whatnot. But I think he's going to get their respect, man. And they're going to be the team that we saw them, the potential they had last season. And they'll actually work through. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they're gonna fall off, especially with the Wizards not gonna be able to do anything next season with what we have. So I think they're gonna move back up in that spot. That I would say that they're 8th seed right now.
Tillman, just with the news with Kyle Lowry, and actually. We have some more breaking news. Duncan Robinson has agreed to a 5-year, $90 million contract to stay with the Miami Heat, according to his agent. The deal, largest ever for an undrafted player, also includes an early termination option after year 4. Did you think that was going to happen, Tillman? That amount?
That's why I ain't no NBA GM. Because, hey, look, again, I root for the players. Get your money. Duncan Robinson was an undrafted shooter, and he impressed one team, and that one team took a chance on him. So I totally understand why he would re-sign with the Miami Heat, even though he would be a hot commodity definitely for contending teams, because you can never have too much shooting. And it's not just that he's a shooter, he's also a big body. Like, you got to hide him on defense, but you got to hide a lot of players on defense nowadays. Mm-hmm. Like I said, if possible, cartel empire owner Pat Riley, he gonna play to win. And Pat Riley's always played to win. So Pat Riley has the ear of Mickey Arison, the owner, and he's gonna be like, look, we need this guy, and they're gonna make it happen. That's like, so you paying Jimmy a big dollars, you paying Duncan Robinson big dollars, you still got Bam. I think Bam signed his extension last year. You give up Dragic and you get Kyle Lowry. I would say that's an upgrade. You don't, at this point, you don't know what you're getting from Victor Oladipo. So, and then, Tyler Hero, when he stopped going to Jack Harlow concerts, he's a basketball player at times. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you can, it's not as, like, everybody doesn't have to do the arms race thing to get 3 superstars. Like, yes, if you can get superstars, why not get superstars? Like this silly notion that of this Dame Lillard type of stubbornness where I'm gonna just stay over here and try to do my own thing. Meanwhile, you getting exited out in May every single year. Like, winning a championship ain't hard, even though you got other superstars on your team. Like, it, like, you don't have to just like stick to your guns so hard as a team. Always look to improve, and if your owner's willing to spend the money, and you got the attraction that is South Beach, like, you don't go to Miami because the fans in the arena are wild and crazy and we like to playing in front of them. They don't show up to the second quarter.
Yeah.
So
they leave at the end of the third.
You know what I'm saying? They got stuff to do. After the third quarter, if we down 7 or 8, okay, well, we just gonna chalk it up and we just gonna go head on South Beach and see what's going on. Like they wouldn't show up to watch LeBron James play. So like, Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, while those are good players, like that's not why you're not why you bring them down there. You bring them down there because Miami's a dope city to live in, and if you're gonna win or we're gonna lose, why not be in Miami? So if I'm Duncan Robinson and I went from Williams College or whatever it was to Michigan, and then I'm undrafted to $90 million, absolutely. Absolutely. Where do I sign? How many times do I need to sign? Can I do it through PDF? Like, can I digitize? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, whatever you need me to do. Like,
can I do it while the ink is still wet? So
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Can I use red, like Miami Heat colors? You know what I'm saying? Like, just whatever you need me to do. But I'm signing on the contract.
I need a sign with blood.
Right. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. Do you need me to prick my finger and stick it on? Look, I don't care. Like I said, Pat Riley might be a mob boss and he might got bodies floating in the river that we don't know about, but he gonna do you right. He gonna do right by you for the most part. You know what I'm saying? So right. I ain't mad at it.
Yep. There is some other breaking news. Free agent forward Torrey Craig has agreed to a 2-year, $10 million deal with the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers have an addition there. I honestly thought Torrey Craig would have got more, honestly. That's what I thought. Especially after this playoff run.
Like, he NBA champion. Either way.
Yeah. That's true.
NBA champion. I'm putting that on. I'm putting that in the free agent resume. NBA champion. I was there.
I was on.
They got to give me one. On both teams. Look, win-win. You know how we play tic-tac-toe and you got a double chance of winning? That's what he was on. I appreciate it.
Oh man, but yeah, I honestly thought he would have got more. I honestly thought so. Like that's one of those signings that I know. Obviously, Torrey Craig has to want to be.
I was gonna say he had to want to go to Indiana. Yeah.
I don't know where he's from, but that's one of those signings. I'm like, why did the Wizards ever approach him?
Right. Like, I'm pretty sure there are a bunch of teams that thought that they could get, if they could get Torrey Craig for $10 million, they would throw on Torrey Craig $10 million.
Yeah. Chris Paul. We mentioned the NBA Finals. Chris Paul, man. Do you like Chris Paul? Because I realized over the last year that social media doesn't really like Chris Paul. Like, so do you like Chris Paul?
Do I like Chris Paul? Okay. Chris Paul, the basketball player, is one of the, in terms of like fully watching their entire careers, he's one of the 5 smartest basketball players I have ever seen. Like, legitimately so. But Chris Paul does all of the short man and the younger brother irritants that they do, like when you kids. Like he do all that stuff. Okay, so you asked me if I like him. I don't dislike Chris Paul. I would definitely say I do not dislike Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul, in many facets, is an up and up kind of person and human being. Like if you want to be, if you're vice president of the NBA the Players Association, I feel like you are a stand up dude, right? More or less. In college, he had some hiccups, some temper tantrum type things where it starts a now forever beef with Julius Hodge, and I would just say that I am on Julius Hodge's side now and forever, because you don't punch me where the sun don't shine and not get thrown out and hit the game winner that game. That's the part that people forget. He hit the game winner that day, and Julius Hodge just had to hold that while Chris Paul gets to have a Hall of Fame basketball career. Nah, bro, no. So Chris Paul, I get why people like him. I also get why other players don't like him, but also get why if you're on his team, you can rock with him because he gonna put you in positions to win. He knows so much about basketball that you have to listen to somebody like him. But he do all the short man irritant things. He do all the little brother irritant things. Like he do stuff that make you want to punch him in the face. But you can't punch him in the face because he little and he Chris Paul and everybody like Chris Paul because he the point guard. You know what I'm saying? So I get why other players are I don't really mess with him like that. So for me personally, I do not dislike Chris Paul, but I understand why people don't like Chris Paul.
And talking about breaking news with Chris Paul. Chris Paul has agreed to stay on a new 4-year deal that could be worth as much as $120 million.
Okay.
Yeah. So
he didn't sign the $40 million. What was it? The $40 million option?
Yeah.
Now he's getting 30, basically 30 a year now.
Yeah.
Nah, it's not. No. That's not how you look at it. You look at it like he turned down $40 million to get 120 by the time he's 40. That's how you look at it. It ain't. This is not a 1-year deal. He said, "I'm getting this last 120, guaranteed."
I mean, now that you say it that way, Tillman, it actually makes more sense that way.
Now I'm like, okay, I recognize why you turned down that 44. If 120 is on the table, absolutely, we'll take the 120.
He probably knew. Look, man, after this season, I don't know if I could get like when I say this season, the coming season. We don't know what's gonna happen. He's like, I'm a year older. I need to just get 120 million. At least that's guaranteed. Oh man. So he's gonna stay with the Phoenix Suns. Thad, what do you think this is gonna mean for the Phoenix Suns? Actually, I think he might have went out. So Tillman, what do you think this is gonna mean for the Phoenix Suns with him staying there?
I think it means a lot, but the most important thing is that Booker and Ayton get better. Like Ayton needs to be an all-star next year, and Booker needs to take it to that next tier of all-star. He of course he's not with the super elite guys, your Giannis's, your LeBron's, or even like somebody like AD, Kawhi, even Dame and Steph, like those guys. He's not up there with KD, he's not there with those guys, James Harden, but he's probably with like Kyrie, a little better. He's better than Zach LaVine, but like that tier of like all-star where you can lead your team to the playoffs, but you got to take it to another level to become a champion. And I think losing the way they did is going to help him become that better player, because he seems like somebody that takes like burn moments and failure to heart in the best way possible, where like it's going to push him to be better. I joke about Devin Booker a lot. Like everything about him suggests that he grew up in a house with an old black dude named Melvin, because he drive old school cars. He got a deep voice, even though he like 16 years old. And his game is it's old school. He's a throwback. So like, I'm pretty sure him and his dad, they're putting the battery in his back, and he'll be a better player next year. Like, so Chris Paul, like to my earlier point, Chris Paul is there to stabilize them the way he did in the playoffs. When he dropped 37, and then when he dropped 40, to close out teams. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what Chris Paul's going to be there for. I don't know how well he's going to be able to do that a year older. And other teams are coming back healthier in the Western Conference. Like, Phoenix was really good, don't get me wrong, but no one expects the Lakers to be the 7 seed again. I don't even think people expect Dallas to be the 5 seed next year. Like, it's going to be a dogfight for those to who the better teams in the West are. Of course, I think the Lakers, Phoenix, Utah, I guess, and like the Clippers are probably like maybe a tier above everybody else. But it's not going to be you're not going to get the benefit of the Lakers having injuries, I don't think. And the Lakers got better. So Chris Paul being a year older, like I think that it's easier to play longer now, of course, because you can take care of your body better. But it's not so much about playing longer; it's about how often you can rise to those levels that's needed to win a championship. Which is why Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, and even somebody like Mikal Bridges, they all need to get better and like take the pressure off Chris Paul having to. Like, Chris Paul shouldn't even have to average 18 and 8 or whatever it was this past season. Like, Chris Paul doesn't need to be an all-star guard if Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton rise to the level of the ability that they have.
Yeah, and now that I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about it, it's a 4-year, $120 million deal, approximately $30 million a year. Do you think this deal was also accepted by Chris Paul, knowing that the Suns may want to actually keep someone like Cameron Payne as the backup point guard? Or is Cameron Payne really focused on being the starter? But I think this is something to help keep Cameron Payne. I think so. And potentially Mikal Bridges in the future, where you can have all those guys still remain. I think that helps. What do you think about that?
So Cameron Payne was a laughingstock before he got to Phoenix. Like, he was just known for dancing with Russell Westbrook before the game. And some again, I guess sometimes being around Chris Paul is a good thing for people, and you just latch on to him, and he helps you with your game. You just find a fit that works. And for Phoenix, Cameron Payne works. I'm not saying that I thought Cameron Payne was terrible necessarily, but I didn't think that he'd be as productive and as effective as he was for Phoenix. So yeah, I can see them trying to keep Cameron Payne. Definitely, I think they should keep Mikal Bridges and Cameron Johnson, to be honest. Then after that, you kind of gotta, you gotta fill your pieces in, because your team is going to change because you were good. So like you said, Torrey Craig signed with another team. It's just you're gonna have to fill in the ends of your rotation in order to compete again. And then you gotta hope your superstars, your budding stars, become superstars. Like, as much as I talked about Booker and it being his burn moment, because he was so close, the same needs to go for DeAndre Ayton, because he was a defensive wall for Giannis for a game and a half. And even as a defensive wall, Giannis was still really effective. And then Giannis decided that the only way forward is through this man, and he went through DeAndre Ayton for the last 4 games of that series. And you got to take that personally. Like, you're not going to see, of course, you're only going to see Giannis twice a year, and then whatever it is if they meet in the finals again. But they're going to be people who saw what Giannis did. There's a specific center in Philadelphia who likes to pick on young centers and makes it personal to let them know that they can't do anything with him. And the MVP plays your position. The last season's MVP plays your position. So you got to be at a point where you got to rise up to that next tier. Because I like, as much as we talk about centers not being around, true centers or what have you, these people who play that position are all very good. So you got to deal with Jokic 3-4 times a year. You got to deal with Anthony Davis now because he's going to be the starting five for 3-4 times a game. You're going to have to deal with Karl Anthony Towns. As much as Minnesota stinks, Karl Anthony Towns is still very good. Mm-hmm. So you got to deal with him. Even somebody like Yusuf Nurkic or like your matchup, you got to have to learn how to dominate your matchup night in and night out. And that's the next step for DeAndre Ayton. I mean, he's only 22, 23, something like that. Booker's only 24, 25. So you got chances to grow. But if you say your championship window is open, you need to grow into being a championship kind of player.
Perfect. Yep. All right. We are about an hour into NBA free agency. Just want to recap some of the deals that have happened already. The first big deal to be reported right as free agency opened immediately at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. New Orleans Pelicans agreed to a signing trade with Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball will be going to the Chicago Bulls and will be getting a 4-year, $85 million contract. Also, Alec Burke has agreed to a 3-year, $30 million contract with the New York Knicks. We have Nerlens Noel, center for the Knicks, staying. 3 years, $32 million contract. There's also Jared Allen, 5 years, $100 million contract to remain with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Kyle Lowry, it will be a signing trade. Still waiting on the details, on all the details of that signing trade. But it does look like it'll be Goran Dragic and an additional player. Tim Hardaway Jr., 4-year deal. $74 million to remain with the Dallas Mavericks. We also have Mike Conley Jr. will be remaining with the Utah Jazz. 3 years, $68 million. Duncan Robinson, 5 years, $90 million with the early termination option to stay with the Miami Heat. And also, we did not talk about this one, so I'm going to drop the sound effect for you. You're gonna have a bewilderment face for this. That's why I did this on purpose. Doug McDermott, 3 years, $42 million, man. So 3 years.
To stay in Indiana?
Oh, sorry, San Antonio Spurs.
Okay, that actually makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Now, talking about the San Antonio Spurs, DeMar DeRozan. Do you think he's just waiting this out to see who's agreeing to what before he decides where he wants to go?
So I think there are two paths of thought here. The first thought is what you're alluding to, where it's like, okay, let me see what they sign it for, so I can prepare what my number is going to be wherever I want to go. The other part is I just think he want to be a Laker, like flat out, and it's so much of like whatever it is within reason, of course. I'm willing to sign it because it's been him. He's linked to that kind of thinking. Wayne Ellington has been linked to that kind of thinking. And of course, Melo has been linked to that kind of thinking where it's like, look, we just trying to be down. It don't necessarily matter about the contract. We just trying to get this championship, make this championship right. So I guess a very interesting time for players like DeMar and to an even greater extent, Russ, where they don't have the championship. And not only, it's not so much that their careers are ending, it's just that the part of where their all-star good is coming to an end. And it's like, it's not so much like, that journeyman part of the career where you're trying to latch on and get a championship. They want to be productive reasons why they win their first NBA championship. And for somebody like Russ and DeMar, who LA kids, if they hoist that trophy and, for the Lakers, while they're like, Russ is 32, I think DeMar is 31, something like that. Like while they hoist that trophy in Los Angeles for the Lakers while they're still all-star caliber good. Because as much as you want to say about Russell Westbrook, man, Russell Westbrook's still an all-star caliber player.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not a fluke that he's an all-star. Like as much as you want to talk about the shooting and the impatience, like that doesn't mean he's not a good basketball player. He's impatient. Like that's, I mean, okay, like you'll live with that, but that doesn't mean he's dumb. Like he's just impatient and the best kind of stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lakers need somebody like that. But with DeMar, a championship caliber team needs DeMar DeRozan because DeMar DeRozan is a bucket, and it's high skill. Like he's a high skill player, you know, with footwork and that kind of thing, fadeaways, mid range, leaners like Chris Middleton, but he still has maybe not the athleticism as he did when he was in Toronto,
Mm-hmm.
but he's still a really athletic guard. Like playing with Pop made him a better player, even if he wasn't as productive, because Pop will show you where you can get to your spots. Like even when, because DeMar DeRozan might be the only player in the NBA who willingly does not shoot threes.
Mm-hmm.
And Pop found a way to make that work. And so the Lakers need Quentin Richardson and Darius Miles call them 2-point geezers. They need a 2-point geezer. Somebody in their 30s that can just get mid-range jump shots time and time again. We don't need picks. I don't need to run off mini screens. Just give me the ball, clear out, mid-post, bucket. Like, so for DeMar, he could either be playing for that big money role if he still thinks that he's a superstar, or he could just be trying to come home.
Before we continue, we do have an update on the sign and trade for Kyle Lowry. It's going to be a 3-year, $90 million deal with the Miami Heat. So, yes. Sticking with the Lakers, though, what do you think about this, I guess, offensive formula?
What you mean?
Lakers signed DeMar DeRozan. Mm-hmm. Starting lineup ends up being Russ, DeMar, whoever at the 3, mm-hmm. LeBron at the 4, 80 at the 5, or LeBron at the 3, 80 at the 4, and Marc Gasol to at least start off games. Do you think they mm-hmm. should just be like, you know what? We got guys who can score in the paint. We got guys who can score in the mid-range. Why don't we just commit to that? What do you think about that formula in 2021? Well,
that's the formula that won them a championship. Like they two-pointed people to death. Like, yeah, they had Kentavious. You know, Kentavious knocked down the occasional 3, but they two-pointed people to death. They beat them up in the paint. They rebounded. They played defense, and they made more 2-point shots than the Miami Heat did. Like I remember, I feel like in one game they made like, I want to say they outscored. They made like 33 2-point field goals. I think Miami only made like 9 or something like that. Like that is the formula. Also, I am of the belief of never doubting LeBron James's basketball acumen.
Perfect.
Like, why in what world should I believe that LeBron James can't figure out how to play with anybody when he made it work with J.R. Smith? Like, I don't understand. Like, we joke about the 2007 Cavaliers a lot. That team made the finals. Of course, that was a different NBA. But again, LeBron James has seen it all in terms of basketball lineups and basketball archetypes of players. Mm-hmm. Now he's in a position to literally pick the players he wants to be on the team. And then I'm supposed to be like, LeBron James doesn't know what he's doing. Again, he made it work with J.R. Smith. Like, I love J.R. Smith, but J.R. Smith was not the most concentrated and focused basketball player around. Mm-hmm. And he made him effective. He like, of course, you know, coaching matters and stuff like that, but he made him effective on the court. Like even if, okay, you know, that's the thing, right? When they signed Russ, it's like, what about the spacing? What about the spacing on the court? Look at the positive things. Like, the pick and roll is Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis. And if you defend the pick and roll, the first outlet pass is LeBron James with your defense rotating. Like, what spacing is needed then? Like, we just playing basketball at that point. Just because people shoot more threes doesn't mean their spacing is good. It's the most effective way for them to play basketball. This layups and 2-point shots still matter. You just watched two teams with multiple players who are mid-range masters play in the finals. Like, yes, the 3-point game matters to keep defenses honest. Even that's why Giannis even takes them, because at some point they gotta believe you can make it, even though nobody believes he can make it. But real basketball is about what is the best shots for your team, not what is the trends of the league. It's what are the best shots for your team. LeBron James creates the best shots for all of his teammates. Yeah, why would I not believe in that?
I purposely asked you that question because I knew you were going to say that. I mean, we've been talking about this for years. So, like, the mid-range game, people say it's dead, but it's actually every team, when you think about it. I mean, I'm just going back to literally 1980. Every team that has won a title was good at defense, down low, and the mid-range. Yes, you had the Warriors, and you have to put the caveat with the Warriors. They have two of the best shooters ever on the same team.
Here's the thing about that. The team, when they won those titles, they led the league in threes, yes. They also led the league in layups. So, like, even if you want to say they've changed basketball for the better or worse, however you feel about it, basketball is still literally at the core. How close can I get to the basket? That's a good shot. See, like, the analytics fool you into believing that teams don't like mid-range shots. That's not where it stems from. It stems from the idea that if you're going to shoot a contested shot, why not get as close to the rim as possible? So, like, the post up and the mid-range are viewed as contested shots. No one gripes about wide open mid-range jump shots. Nobody, not even Daryl Morey. So, like, that's not where the mid-range dies. It's just that to a lot of people who use the numbers of basketball, mid-range shots seem less efficient, but the truly elite scorers, the guys who are walking buckets is the new term now. All of them are mid-range masters. They all are. Like, Lou Williams is a bucket not because he shoots a bunch of threes. Lou Williams gets to his spot. He's always going to go left. He's going to get to his spot, 2 dribbles, mid-range. Carmelo, Kevin Durant, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, Chris Paul, Devin Booker. When Devin Booker's on a heater, he's not shooting threes. He's shooting foul line extended jump shots. Like, that's where the true bucket getters lie. It's just that if you're not that good, you don't need to be shooting that shot.
Yeah. So
you need to stick to threes and layups. Like, you need to stick to things that people are passing you the ball to do. Like, that's where the difference lies.
There's some other news that we haven't gotten to. Will Barton agrees to a 2-year, $32 million contract with the Nuggets. Man, do you think the injury really messed? Do you think the injury messed him up, Tillman?
Messed him up.
Barton.
Will Barton, yes. Those kinds of guys can help any team. Like, they're just effective, right? Like Will Barton, Torrey Craig, Josh Hart's that kind of player. Mikal Bridges. Like, there are a bunch of guys like that. Like, they just seem to affect the game in a positive way, no matter what they're doing on the court. But I think the injury hurt Will Barton in terms of, like, what the team feels he can actually do, right? Like, when he was healthy, they would put the ball in his hands. You know what I'm saying? Like you can let him make a play, but when you not, especially if he goes to another team, like that other team has to believe that he can still do that as Will Barton, even though it's not at a star level necessarily, but it's like something that you may need on the occasion depending on he's out there with, right? Yeah, I think the injury messed him up a little bit. Like, of course, I mean, I think he's young enough to where he can still have a career. I don't even think he's anywhere near 30 yet. But yeah, the injury definitely had a setback on where his career trajectory was going.
Before we get to some more free agency talk, let's stick with let's move to the Brooklyn Nets. Do you think the Nets have to make any more additions, or are they just running back with the team that they have? And I do want to add this because this just broke 4 minutes ago. Jeff Green, 2 years, $10 million with the Denver Nuggets. So knowing that Jeff Green isn't there, do you think the Nets just re-up, just reload, and do it again?
See, we got Kyrie, we got Harden, we got Joe Harris, we got KD. I don't know if Blake Griffin's a free agent or not. I feel like he is. No Jeff Green. You got Bruce Brown. He proved that he can be a rotation guy. You traded Landry Shamet. I would say they need a forward. They need a forward that can shoot, and they need a 3-and-D guard.
Mm-hmm.
So, I know people joke on Kentavious, but if Kentavious, a player is along the level of Kentavious, that's 6'5", 6'6", can guard a few positions. Danny Green is another example. That kind of player. They need that player, but that player has to come off the bench. But other than that, I mean, again, I'm like the chances of having Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant on one basketball team versus any other team that does not have Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving on one basketball team. We don't have to make this difficult. When they were on the court together, they were one of the best offenses to ever exist. So I'm not even saying that as hyperbole. That was an actual fact. The games that they played together, they were one of the best offenses to ever exist. And it was very clear that when the games mattered, they knew how to play defense a little bit. They held Milwaukee under 100 points a bunch of times, even in games they lost.
Yeah.
So and that was Kevin Durant and some dudes. So now that other teams will have to defend Kyrie Irving and James Harden and Kevin Durant at the same time for 35 minutes a game, it's going to be a little more difficult for them to score as often as they were. So that's really where it matters. You got the 4 guys that you wanted to keep: Kyrie, James, Joe Harris, and Kevin Durant. And then now you got to sign veteran guys. But I was listening to a podcast earlier where it's that locker room a little weird. I don't mind those guys at all, but that locker room is a little weird, right? So it's not like the Lakers where it's okay, you kind of know what you're getting with Bron and AD and Russ. You kind of know those guys, how they kind of move. I love Kyrie Irving, I love James Harden, I love Kevin Durant, but them dudes are a little weird, and that's not even necessarily a bad thing. But they walk to their own beat for sure.
They do.
And that's you got to be in the locker room with them for 80 games. And that's why that's why it makes sense why Jeff Green was there, because Jeff Green played with 2 of those guys. So it makes sense. But it's if all you know about those guys is they good at basketball and they a little weird, you might be a little hesitant to walk over there and be a part of that. You know what I'm saying? You walk into the locker room and Kyrie got the walking stick and the sage and the Palo Santo. You know what I'm saying? James Harden doing whatever he doing, listening to Lil Baby or whatever. And then Kevin Durant, he extra sensitive. That's not a bad thing, by the way. And he extra sensitive. So you just okay, well, maybe I just want to kick it somewhere else where they have a little, I know what I'm expecting. And I'm walking in here. So it'll be interesting to see how they fill it out. But they don't really need to do a whole lot. I don't think. Like I even liked the idea of them if Blake Griffin's a free agent of re-signing Blake Griffin because he was effective for them. He probably can't start, but he was effective for them. I don't know. You know, they can figure it out.
Yep. Just want to go through some notable or reset what has happened so far. We actually didn't even get to this, but it was expected. Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks agreed to a supermax extension, 5 years, in the range of $170 to $201 million. We mentioned Jimmy Butler, max extension 4 years, over 184. Chris Paul opted out yesterday, and he decided to sign or agreed to a 4-year, $120 million contract. Jared Allen, 5 years, $100 million to stay with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Duncan Robinson, 5 years, $90 million to stay with the Miami Heat. There was a signing trade involving the Pelicans and the Chicago Bulls. Lonzo Ball going to the Bulls, also getting 4 years, $85 million. Pelicans get Garrett Temple and Tomas Satoransky in a second-round draft pick. Kyle Lowry in a signing trade with the Miami Heat. He'll be getting 3 years, $90 million. We didn't get through, or actually, let's continue. Tim Hardaway Jr., 4 years, $74 million to remain with the Dallas Mavericks. Mike Conley Jr., 3 years, $72.5 million. Now this was, I'm seeing 72.5 now, so a little bit more than the 68 that was previously reported. To remain with the Utah Jazz. Doug McDermott, 3 years, $42 million to go to the San Antonio Spurs. Kelly Olynyk, 3 years, $37 million to go to the Detroit Pistons. TJ McConnell, 4 years, $35.2 million to stay with the Indiana Pacers. Nerlens Noel and Alec Burke will be staying on 3-year deals with the New York Knicks. Will Barton, 2 years, $32 million to remain with the Denver Nuggets. Cameron Payne, we mentioned this earlier, Tillman, and now we get to it. Cameron Payne, 3 years, $19 million. I mean,
to stay with Phoenix?
Yeah, to stay with Phoenix. That is solid for Phoenix. I mean, I honestly thought he would have got more, but look, that's solid for Phoenix. And maybe Cameron Payne sees that maybe he knows his role is to be a backup point guard. So why not just back up Chris Paul and be on this team? So that could be a good decision for both teams. JaMychal Green, 2 years, $17 million to stay with the Denver Nuggets. David Nwaba, 3 years, $15 million to what was his last team, Tillman? I ain't gonna act like I know. Was it the
David
Rockets?
Nwaba? I think it was the Rockets.
Okay, then it's to remain with the Rockets.
I'm saying my first thought was like, wasn't he in Chicago? I look, man, I don't know, bro.
Last I remember, he was with the Lakers. That's the last I remember.
Right. So, I think he was in Houston though. Yeah.
Okay. Torrey Craig, 2 years, $10 million to go to the Indiana Pacers. Jeff Green, 2 years, $10 million to go to the Denver Nuggets. Mo Harkless, 2 years, $9 million, Sacramento Kings. Sterling Brown to the Dallas Mavericks, 2 years, $6.2 million. Reggie Bullock to return to the New York Knicks, terms to be determined. And Boban Marjanovic to remain with the Dallas Mavericks is a 1-year deal in terms to be determined. Now, Tillman, we mentioned the Nets. Let's go to a powerhouse that we haven't really spoken about at all so far. The Golden State Warriors. Do you think they are going to make any moves before the season starts to acquire a player or get rid of a player? Do you think any significant moves to that team?
They're in an interesting situation because the players that they drafted, I think can make an impact right away. But I don't think they can make the impact necessary for a championship team, which is the big three of the Warriors. That's where they are in their careers. They're not just playing. They're playing for championships. Like they don't know just being a playoff team and just being good enough. That's not where they are. So I thought that they would have moved their picks beforehand. Like I thought they would have traded those picks already, and then or Andrew Wiggins or maybe even James Wiseman, and then tried to nab a superstar that way. I still think that is possible. I don't know who, because they need front court help. Like as much as people joke about Andrew Wiggins, right? Andrew Wiggins, I think, found who he is as a basketball player in Golden State. He was the number one overall pick, but he didn't choose that himself, right? Like he was just they picked him. But I think that he's a good third option on a contending team, and I think that what he does, I think the Warriors could use. Like I think that he's like along the lines of Kelly Oubre. Like I think honestly, I think he's better than Kelly Oubre. Not by much, but I think he's better than Kelly Oubre. So like he fits what they need. Then you have Wiseman, who would fit what they need if he had played an entire season. So now he's still in project mode because he got injured. So you need front court help. And not only that, you need backcourt scoring. Like you need again, like every team needs it, but you need a guy off the bench who can go get a bucket when Steph and Clay aren't dribbling the ball. Yeah. So I don't know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if you give up the players that you got, because Kuminga he's going to be a really good defender. Wherever it goes with his offense is whatever, but he's going to be a really good defender. He's going to be a really good slasher and cutter. He's going to finish a lot of lobs. And Moses Moody can shoot it. He can play. Like, he might be like 19, but he can hoop. And so if you let him play, kind of like what the Lakers did with Taylor Horton-Tucker, later in the 2020 season, and then so a little bit more last season, you don't even tell him what the plays are. You just tell him go play basketball, and he will do more good than his rookie mistakes or young player mistakes. So it's like you have what could be effective, but I don't know if that's enough to win a championship, and I don't know if it's enough for them to wait on those players while Steph, Clay, and Draymond, are over 30 now, and other teams are better. So I don't know. I really don't know. I would say that they would, because they're, like we said earlier, their front brass isn't scared to spend any money. So I would say they would. It just depends on how much they value draft picks and the players that they picked with those draft picks. Like, nobody's Sam Presti. Yeah. So like that's just what it is. Like, how do you see the potential of your draft picks in terms of winning right now?
Yeah, I know they were, the social media rumors, especially once Russ got traded about Bradley Beal, but I wasn't really seeing any pieces that I kind of thought were like good pieces. I kind of was just like, okay. But as a Wizards fan, I was like, look, if we trade in Bradley Beal, are we getting Klay Thompson back?
Right.
like I'll take Klay Thompson coming off of a knee and Achilles injury.
Right.
Yeah, instead of just, getting
Andrew Wiggins. You get Andrew Wiggins and Kevon Looney and a couple of draft picks.
Yeah. That's what I'll take. Or if you want, what's his name? Klay Thompson and Wiseman and maybe one draft pick. I could take that too. But right. Yeah, man. Look, basketball is going to be fun. The NBA is going to be fun next year with teams that are bouncing back from injury, with teams that are going to, for the most part, get a free agent. I mean, get an off season for the most part. The season did end just about 2 weeks ago, but things should be better when it comes to the schedule now. This Delta variant, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know about that now. Right. But yeah, it should be better. It's going to be really, really exciting. Some notable free agents still: Kawhi Leonard, Spencer Dinwiddie, Carmelo Anthony, DeMar DeRozan, Reggie Jackson, Derrick Rose, Blake Griffin, Bobby Portis, Victor Oladipo. I do want to get to Oladipo though, because you mentioned him a little earlier. Where do you think is a good fit for Oladipo?
Well, first, I root for everybody that come from the area. That's first and foremost.
Perfect.
Oladipo, man, like you mentioned about Will Barton and how like his injury kind of messed up his trajectory. Victor Oladipo was an all-star player getting better before his injuries.
For sure.
Man, so like for him, it's a matter of what kind of player is he now? Like what kind of player are you without your explosiveness? Like Derrick Rose, it took Derrick Rose, I would say 2 healthy seasons post, all of the injuries to figure out who he was as a player. Okay, I can't jump over everybody no more. But I'm still laterally quick. I can still make decisions to get to the mid range. I can still get to the rim. I can pass it. I can make passes, out when I drive to the rim. That's what Victor Oladipo needs to be. It depends on where all the moves are. What happens with people who get traded. Like I could see Victor Oladipo taking the place of maybe like a Marcus Smart. Like if Boston decides to move for Marcus Smart, now you got a different kind of 2 guard that's a little better playmaker, maybe not as good a defender, but a better playmaker than Marcus Smart. I'm like running through the teams in my head.
I just thinking about it's hard with Oladipo is the injury. If I could somehow see, and obviously as a general manager, you're gonna be able to see, when you meet with these players, you're gonna be able to do things, do testing and speak to doctors. You'll be able to do all of that to figure that out. But yeah, it's until I can see where he is, I can't really make a decision on Oladipo. Like it's tough.
Right.
And it was really unfortunate because he got traded to the Miami Heat, and then it was what? Did he play a game with the Heat?
I don't remember him playing a game. I remember him playing for Houston, but I do not remember him playing for Miami.
Man. We do have some breaking news. Furkan Korkmaz, 3 years, $50 million deal to stay with the 76ers. And Gary Trent Jr., 3 years, $54 million to return to the Toronto Raptors. So, man, I mean, salute to him.
That's what I'm saying.
He was a second round pick. Yeah.
Get this money.
Salute to him. Getting that deal, man.
I always thought he'd be good though. I thought if they played him, I thought he'd play his way into somebody's rotation, into some good money. I did.
Yeah, he definitely played well, especially look, Toronto, what they won 20 something games last season, but they were dealing with playing literally every game on the road because they played in Tampa, Florida instead of Toronto. They should be playing back in Toronto this season. You'll get that home court advantage, when teams come up there. Also, with Lowry not there, it's just one less person handling the ball. You're going to have Fred VanVleet, who will be the clear starting point guard for that team, and Gary Trent Jr. can be the starting shooting guard. And we'll have to see how that plays out. Now, Tillman, you've watched, I assume you watched college basketball last season, correct? Because I didn't watch a lick of it last season. So this NBA draft, I have no idea who these people are. I know obviously Cade Cunningham. I know him.
Right.
They have Cade Cunningham. Is it Sadiq Bey, Jeremy Grant, Sekou Demboye,
Mm-hmm.
and now Kelly Olynyk is signing with that team. What do you think about the Detroit Pistons?
Well, they're not a playoff team, first and
Okay.
foremost. I think Jeremy Grant made as big of an improvement as a player as anybody last year. Like, I know Julius Randle won most improved player, but Jeremy Grant's jump, I believe, from his time in Denver to his season in Detroit was a bigger jump than even Julius Randle's. So they got a guy that stepped into a star role, and of course the question is, are you stepping into a star role because everybody else is terrible around you and somebody got to shoot it? But the other end of that thinking is, if everybody else is terrible around you and you got to shoot it, his numbers went up. You know what I'm saying? Like he was still productive. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so he got to be good at something. Cade, I would say Cade, even though Cade's only 19, Cade is the most pro-ready of the prospects, I think, in terms of what they're gonna ask him to do. Like, I think the Baylor guards and the Chris Duartes of the world, like, they can step in and contribute because they play basketball longer. They're a little older. They're a little more sure of themselves as players. But they're gonna let Cade. Cade's probably gonna start. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna let him shoot. He's gonna be like Anthony Edwards, where it's like, but Anthony Edwards without having Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell there to take a bunch of shots. Like, it's going to be him, Jeremy Grant, and everybody else kind of just like get it off the rim. And but he's mature beyond his years, and he plays the position where if they were to make a playoff run, he is the player there that could, along with Jeremy Grant, that could push for even like that play-in seeds that'll be there next year as well. But also, of course, he probably ain't never played with people that's as bad as the players that he's playing with, and and that he gonna get a rude awakening because it's grown men on the other end of that. Like, I know you probably used to playing grown men because that kind of talent plays in pro-ams and open gyms with pros all the time, but you ain't playing it when we in the regular season and contracts, somebody in a contract year. Like, they gonna make an example. They gonna try to make an example out of him, and I think he's ready. Just like I thought Anthony Edwards was ready. Like, Anthony Edwards took off because that young man has an unshakable confidence that is both incredibly marketable and should be embraced by everybody. Like, so Cade Cunningham may not be, I don't think he's as like outgoing as Anthony Edwards is, but I think he's just as confident. And sooner rather than later, it'll turn into winning, but I don't think it'll turn into winning this season. Just like I think Minnesota will be good also. I just don't know how quickly it'll happen.
We do have someone who came off of the notable free agent list. Bobby Portis, 2 years, $9 million to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks.
I respect it.
They did say he got offers from the Mavericks, and I'm looking here. It says Mavericks and Heat.
I respect it.
Decided to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks. Also, Zach Collins agreed to a three-year, $22 million deal with the Spurs.
That makes sense.
And for Mike Muscala, 2 years, $7 million deal to return to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Do you think is Zach Collins one of those players that can is a move, or his move, is that a precursor to Damian Lillard, or is it Dame's going to do what Dame's going to do no matter what Zach was going to do?
Oh, yeah, nah. Zach Collins ain't moving nobody's needle, man. Like, Zach Collins, I would go to San Antonio, too, if I was Zach Collins or Doug McDermott. And, like, I would let Pop coach me up and teach me how to play basketball. Like, But no, Zach Collins is not going to be the reason why Dame stays or goes. Like that's no. Like Zach, when he injured? Like he didn't even
Yeah,
play.
he didn't play at all this season.
Yeah, so
Still
no,
got
he
some
doesn't. He doesn't. Yeah, look, get your
Still
money
got
again.
some money.
Get your money again. If you got $22 million from R.C. Buford and the San Antonio Spurs, a world class organization,
Yep.
you doing something right. So I mean, he I don't know if he'll start. I think Jakob Poeltl. I think he's still there, right?
Yeah, it should be there.
Yeah. So I don't know if he'll start or not, but why not? You know, there ain't no taxes. Like just whatever. Like go where the money. Sometimes you go where the money is. And if you always wanted to play for Pop, or you might have, I don't know, there might even be somebody on the team who's already his friend. You never know. Like you just like there's always more reasons to sign for a team other than they gave me a bunch of money. I was playing here before, or I'm trying to win a championship. Sometimes you just want to stay close to home, or sometimes you just like it there, or sometimes you want to see what's up. Like you just, I don't know. I heard they got the bomb locker room over there. I'm trying to see what's up. Like you never know.
Yep. Rudy Gay is an unrestricted free agent. Also, he is waiting to get a deal done. You mentioned Wayne Ellington, Kent Bazemore, Trevor Ariza, JJ Redick, Patty Mills. Do you think, now that I'm looking at some of these names, do you think that the Olympics is what's kind of holding some of these names back?
Yeah, I could definitely see that, especially like Patty Mills. Like I could see that. I could see the Olympics being the reason why these deals aren't getting signed. Also, the offseason is shorter, so I'm pretty sure players are trying to get that the real offseason part in before they start doing business and playing basketball and all other stuff again. Yeah, but I can see that being a part of it. Also, you want to see where this is. If you're not a superstar and you're not moving the needle, you want to see where other people are landing, so you know where you can get in, where you fit in. For whatever amount of money or whatever rotation minutes or whatever you want to do. Like I'm sure for somebody like Patrick Mills, he can still play. He can still help a team come off with his play off the bench and be a bench scoring guard. Especially and even somebody like Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay doesn't need to start.
True.
But a veteran scorer like Rudy Gay, he can come in and help a playoff team. Like Jeff Green did for the Nets. Like Rudy Gay could play for the Nets and be the Jeff Green role. Just substitute one PG County player for another. Like it could be some kind of but I think with the players like them, the veteran guys, like I said, the veterans are where like the like dominoes are. So it's like, okay, this veteran guy went here, so I need to go here. This place is open, so the rotation minutes at the three are here for me, you know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. So like that's where the dominoes and all that. That's where the free agency dominoes are gonna fall.
Yep. Before we continue, got to give a shout out to our boy Michael Drakes. Gave a little shout out on Facebook, on the Facebook Live. Definitely appreciate it for you tuning in, Michael Drakes. So let's now get to the fun part of this conversation. So far, there hasn't been too much major movement outside of Kyle Lowry with the signing trades of the Miami Heat.
Mm-hmm.
The Nets look like they have their team minus Jeff Green and Landry Shamet. You have the Lakers who made the trade for Russell Westbrook, but they gave up, some pieces. We'll get to that a little bit later. You have the Warriors coming back with their big three. You have Chris Paul deciding to opt out and re-sign with the Phoenix Suns. You have the Denver Nuggets who have Will Barton who resigned. They get Jeff Green and Jamal Murray, who's should be. We don't know what it's going to look like, but with the knee injury, he's dealing with that. Dallas Mavericks did get. They got to keep Tim Hardaway Jr. Let's start with the East. It's August the 2nd, but what
Yes, it is.
What are we predicting in the East? What's going to be the top 4 teams in the East, Tillman?
I I have given up predicting anything about anything, like because it takes away the fun. Like the fun is just not knowing, and we are in an era of NBA basketball where we don't know. This is the first. This is the first year. This past season was the first year where it was like, oh man, a bunch of teams win championship.
Mm-hmm.
And even though we wanted Lakers and Nets, it was still a bunch of teams going to championship. Even though
True.
that's what we wanted, and they were the clear favorites literally for most of the season to meet in the finals. I mean, again, I think the evidence is there. You have a team with Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant. They all play on the same team. They're going to be really, really good. You have a team with Giannis, Drew Holiday, and Chris Middleton. They're going to be really, really good. Like even with the Bucks, and we were like, we don't know if the Bucks are going to be, they're not playing the same as they were last couple seasons. They were still like third seed. So like they're going to be top 4. Like I think Philly's still going to be good, whether or not Ben Simmons is there, because Joel Embiid is an MVP caliber player. And whatever they get back for Ben Simmons is probably going to help their team at least be playoff ready. I don't think Charlotte's ready enough to take that ascent up to the 4 seed. I think Atlanta and New York are probably going to battle for that next tier of team. Depending on health and all those other things, they might sneak into one of them might sneak into the top 4 like the Knicks did this season. I don't think Miami's dead.
Mm-hmm.
But like I think the clear teams are Milwaukee and Brooklyn. And then I think everybody else has enough of a question mark to where you're not sure what they're going to be. Like they could finish it. Like Atlanta could be anywhere from the 3rd best team to be in the 6th seed again, because something about the Atlanta Hawks, they just do not prosper in a way that we want them to prosper.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and the same is true for like the Knicks. The Knicks could continue to ascend and be a top 4 seed again, or they could be the 8th seed because they the Knicks. Like that just is what it is. Charlotte could be the 4th seed or 5th seed next year if LaMelo Ball makes this all-star leap and just somehow it elevates their play to whatever. I don't think the Pacers are dead because they got a coach they like now. Who else? I don't think Boston's dead. So like, we didn't even mention them at first. So like Boston could jump into that top 4 position because as Tatum and Brown elevate their games, like it's up for grabs, and that's the best part. But I do think Milwaukee and Brooklyn are a clear tier above everybody else.
Have we ever, I mean, I'm not trying to be prisoner of the moment, but have we ever had a moment, an era in the last 40 years where there's so many teams in both conferences where we're really like, well, who's going to miss the playoffs? Like,
right.
I feel like usually there's a clear, even in its like peak East, there was probably like 6 teams. The last 2 teams kind of struggled to make it, and then it was like a big drop off.
Mm-hmm.
And in the West, we know how it was like really competitive for a while, but that was the same time when the East was down. Have we ever had where both conferences really just have so many teams where you're sitting there like, well, who's going to miss the playoffs?
Right. No, I don't, not that I can remember. But that's because the talent is younger and the talent is more comparable. So the superstars are not all, but the superstars are more likely to play together. So like there are a lot of duos now. Like instead of like just one, I don't want to say one super team necessarily, but instead of just one super team and then everybody else trying to figure it out from there are a lot of the talent. I think the talent as far as like this starting, like the top 8 guys, I think it's a lot more parity amongst that now than it was before, because I think the league is just more skilled. So, even 15 years ago, like you still had the guy that just played defense and they didn't even expect him to shoot the ball at all. Like their teams were willing to start somebody that was not a scoring threat on the floor. Like Andre Roberson, like much respect to him, but he didn't have to shoot it. And when he shot it, they literally did not defend him. Nowadays, everybody on the floor needs to be a scoring threat of some kind, even if your scoring threat is just shooting threes, catching and shooting threes. Like there are some issue with that, like a lot of the bad threes being taken, and personally, I don't like it either. But if you gonna be out there, you gotta shoot it. Like you can't shoot it like no superstar, of course. But if they passing you the ball, and they told you in the game plan, we need you to shoot, you have to shoot it. So the fact that there's more skill out there on the floor and in the rotations and in the team, like the depth of the teams, I think it allows for it to be a little more comparable to where you're not really sure even like how it's all going to shake out. Like you might have of course you got your mainstays. Like I'm pretty sure Brooklyn, Milwaukee, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Jazz, Phoenix, Philly, Boston, I'm pretty sure those teams are going to make the playoffs. I don't know what seed they may be, but I'm pretty sure they're going to make the playoffs. Like even when the Lakers were struggling, I was like, they're not going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah, like I didn't think they'd be a top 4 seed after like a while, but like I didn't think they were going to miss the playoffs altogether. But yeah, like now once you get to now that you have the play-in seeds as well, even a team like Minnesota or New Orleans, Minnesota has an all-star big that's close to his prime, a near all-star caliber guard, and a budding rookie superstar, along with pretty solid role players like Josh Okogie and Malik Beasley and some others. Like, and they missed the play-in part of it. So like all it takes for them is just like for everything to come together for one season, and you like, well, Minnesota, why is Minnesota the 7th seed? What happened there? They talented enough. And I think that the talent discrepancy it's not that big of a gap from like say like 6 to 13 or whatever, 6 to 14 or whatever, how many teams it is. Like that's why it seems like everybody kind of has a chance, because the bottom teams aren't so separate from anybody who would contend for a playoff spot.
Let's get to your favorite team, or our favorite team. So I'll go with you. Your New York Knicks made it to the postseason, first time in several years. It was excitement in the Garden. Unfortunately, ran into Ice Trey and the Atlanta Hawks. Let's talk about that though. Were you just excited to see the Knicks in the postseason for so long, or are you like, nah, I'm trying to see some noise, some real noise made?
Okay, so being in sports journalism has like,
I think we might have lost Tillman there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Actually,
am I in there? All right.
Yeah.
So like my fan support isn't live or die anymore, and to be honest, if you like the Knicks for so long, there is no live or die. It's really just like a measure of apathy and support. Like it's like I want them to do well, but I'm not putting all of my energy into this. I've done it literally for 25 years, for almost 30 years now. Like I have had so much energy in wanting them to do well. So I was excited that the Garden got a playoff series. I did not think the Knicks would beat the Hawks, because the Hawks had just had more dudes that can get buckets, and the Knicks depended on Julius Randle and defense. And in the playoffs, if you got guys that can get buckets, eventually those guys will win out 4 times out of 7. Like the Knicks had to play perfect offense and perfect defense to beat the Hawks. And once Julius Randle struggled the first time, and once they didn't win game 1, I was like, the series is over. I figured the Knicks would win a game, at least one game. I thought they'd win 2 games, but I figured that when they didn't get game one and how they didn't get game one, I figured the series was over because that was the one that would shift the momentum. That would put doubt in Atlanta's mind.
Mm-hmm.
That they didn't, and then like you said, like Trae Young is he is a villain who embraces being a villain. So he's going to look to rip throats out. So once you give him an opportunity to, you weren't going to get the series back unless you played perfect basketball. I thought Julius Randle would have been this good last season.
Okay.
But I recognized that he wasn't because they signed like 9 power forwards on the team.
Yes.
And they were trying to play them all together. And I'm like, no, that's not what you need around Julius Randle. You need a 5 that plays defense. That's why Nerlens Noel works for them. You need guards that can get their own shot. That's why Quickly worked. That's why Derrick Rose worked. That's why Alec Burks works. That's why RJ works.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're missing is a 3-man that can stretch it and shoot it. That's why Kevin Knox not working out has hindered what they're on so far. Also, they need to get Elfrid Payton off the team. I don't know why Elfrid Payton is on the team, but he don't need to be on the team no more. The games don't start until Elfrid Payton is on the bench for the rest of the game. I don't know why he plays. Like, I'm not even saying it because like I think he's terrible. I think he's a wonderful basketball player. I actually think he's a good basketball player. Like all things considered, I think Elfrid Payton is good. I just don't think he needs to be on the Knicks when you already have Derrick Rose and Alec Burks, 2 veteran guards, and Emmanuel Quickly, who put his foot into the rotation. You made Thibodeau play him. Like you don't need Elfrid Payton there just to like be there. You know what I'm saying? Like he just start the game and you just doing that because you want to bring Derrick Rose off the bench. Like if you're going to do that, like you can't have him and Frank on the team. That's why Frank not on the team no more. Like I don't know, man. Like just it's really about that. Like that, there's one thing that gets me like in terms of like emotionally like charged. Just like why is Elfrid Payton on the floor at all? Like he don't need to be on the floor at all.
We do.
So I thought they were. I didn't think they'd win as many games as they did. But once it looked like they were clicking, like they were gelling as a team, I was like, okay, they're a playoff team. And then it's just a matter of where you go play in the playoffs.
We do have some breaking news. According to, I think his name is Brad Turner. Looks like Trevor Ariza and Wayne Ellington will have agreed to deals with the Los Angeles Lakers. Also, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, Dwight Howard returning to the Lakers.
Exactly.
This is getting interesting.
Look, man, we know where the bread is buttered. Okay, we know who got the bread, who's doing the buttering. We trying to get this championship. Like, why not? Like, why not? Like, if I get to pick where I get to play, I've made enough money. I've played long enough in the career. I got whatever I got going on off the court. Especially if you Dwight Howard's a Hall of Famer. Like, why not run it back where you won your first title and help him again? Why not?
Got a comment or did y'all mention that the GM of the Spurs went to your high school and just signed 2 white dudes? You know who that is right there.
He definitely did. He definitely did. Yo. He definitely did. But to that comment, right?
Do you know who that is?
RC, right? RC River, right?
Nah, look at the name.
Oh, what up, Josh? Yeah, but to be fair, Josh, Zach Collins and Doug McDermott, if you had to like do the who he played for and you never knew anything about their careers, San Antonio would be really, really high on where you thought they was playing. So like they signed San Antonio guys, you know what I'm saying? Like that's why I said those signings make sense. I can see Doug McDermott playing for Pop. I can see Zach Collins playing for Pop. Like, just like I can see Doug McDermott in Indiana and Zach Collins in Portland. Like, they just They have gone where it looks like they would go.
Yep. Thad isn't on the stream, so because Thad went to DeMatha, he had Danny Ferry as a GM.
Oh yeah.
But now we could say Tacoma Academy has Brian Wright as a
That's
GM.
right. That's right.
For the
Brian
same.
Right now. That's right.
Actually, no.
You're right.
Danny Ferry was with the Hawks, and
and then he said some wild stuff.
Cleveland. He was with Cleveland before.
He was with Cleveland. Yeah, he was with Cleveland. Then he said some wild stuff.
Then he went to the Hawks, said some
wild stuff, and now he no longer is.
So now we got it from Tacoma Academy. We have an NBA GM making some moves. So you mentioned your New York Knicks. I want to talk about my Washington Wizards. Made this trade, and we got Kyle Kuzma, KCP, Montrezl Harrell. As someone on the outside looking in, how do you feel about those acquisitions for the Wizards?
I think those acquisitions were able to be made because Bradley Beal said he was willing to stay. And in willing to stay, you play the long game with assets. I think Kyle Kuzma needed a fresh start. For all of who Kyle Kuzma is and is not, considering where he was drafted, he's had a pretty successful career so far. But he wasn't going to blossom there because he's a forward and the best two players on the team are forwards. Like you play you operate in the same spots that they do. And so like he would have never been comfortable. He would have never been comfortable on the floor. And then there's the pressure of you being Kyle Kuzma, and they moved Brandon Ingram on for you, essentially. Now, I don't think they would have gotten AD if they didn't include Brandon Ingram, but I was like, maybe they should try their best to keep Brandon Ingram because I saw All-Star Brandon Ingram coming.
From the jump, I was like, Brandon Ingram is automatic, but yeah,
he's going to be an All-Star. I was like, he's going to be an All-Star. Like he's incredible.
Yeah.
So Kyle Kuzma here in the area. It's a fresh start, but again, he going to a team where somebody else already literally plays the position he plays. And I'm not sure if he's better than Rui, to be honest. Like I'm not sure if he's better. I'm not saying he's way worse than Rui, but it will be if they play them on the floor together, they would be doing like a small front court kind of situation, which could work. I'm not saying it can't work, but it could. But no, those players and the assets are for put in their best position to keep Bradley Beal, whatever that looks like. I think also Montrezl needed a different place to go. If you're not being used in the Lakers like you think you should be, go somewhere else. It'll be interesting to see how the lineup shake up now that you have a new coach. And, I mean, you don't have Scott Brooks, so I mean, amen. You know,
that's what I'm saying.
Praises on Most High. You know what I'm saying? Like the blessings definitely come down. Like that's like if there was anything, like you said to your point about keeping Russell Westbrook, you need to understand that man averaged a triple-double with Scott Brooks as his coach. So like he should get like whatever medals that are afforded to civilians. He need to get a couple of them for existing with Scott Brooks. Bradley Beal too. Like Bradley Beal had his best pro season with Scott Brooks as his coach. Like he needs all the awards and medals. So it's like you said, it's August 2nd. So it remains to be seen what all happens, how it all meshes together, what point guard or other guard they get. Do they let Bradley Beal go to Devin Booker route to 1 year and they like, okay, you are a point guard and we'll just build around that. Do Bradley Beal even want to do that? Like it's just, I think the determining factor for them is who plays the one and how does that affect Bradley Beal?
Yeah, man. I'm still a little in my feelings just about, Russ not being here because I just really like Russ. Russ is just one of my favorite
I think the
players.
city liked Russ. I think the city loved Russ, to be fair. I think they did.
And especially after, John Wall leaving or being shipped out, there was a lot of like, well, this ain't John, so what he gonna do? He was already an MVP player, and then he showed what he was gonna do. Even the team started out; they were 14th place in the East at one point in the season. And this isn't week 2 into the season; they were into like January, pretty far back, and made their push once everyone was healthy. And I just really wanted to go, one more time at least. But hey, the trade is done. Kyle Kuzma's here. Montrezl Harrell's here. KCP is here. It looks like Beal is staying because a week ago, it was Beal's leaving. Then the trade happens and it's Beal's leaving. And now we're here at free agency. We don't hear a peep from from NBA insiders. We don't hear a peep from, trolls on the internet. Because it looks like Beal wants to be here. I mean, from someone that I know that's kind of close to him, he loves just the area also.
Yeah, he loves it here. Yeah, for sure.
And he's like, I love it here. My family loves it here. And he just loves how the organization treated him. Because as bad as we talk about the Wizards organization, when it comes to like the players dealing with the front office on a daily basis, the training staff, the coaching staff, even those who work at the arenas, like the players actually like dealing with monumental sports. So at least that's a good thing. It's not like, I complain about, what's his name? Ted Leonsis when it comes to the Wizards specifically. I personally believe the Capitals are his baby. And he just bought the Wizards when the opportunity came. And I feel like, Capitals won in 2018. And that kind of was like, hey,
I'm good.
Actually, like he felt good. And I'm just like, well, can we win one with the Wizards too? Like, but even with all of that, I mean, players, even Russ on his way out, he didn't really have to say things were great.
Right. Like
he really said, hey, it was a great year here. Like, my family loved it here. My wife loved it here. My kids loved it here. So, and then back to Bradley Beal, though. Yeah, it seems like he just really likes to be here. So it has to be something like really catastrophic where it's like they really treating him bad. Where it's like, all right, I need to get out of here. So as the days have gone by, it's now 4 days since that trade. I'm feeling a little bit better as a Wizards fan. A little bit better. I just want to reset what has happened. It's been 2 hours since NBA free agency has started. Recap some of the deals. Trae Young, Supermax extension, 5 years, worth anywhere from $170 to $201 million. Jimmy Butler, max extension, 4 years, anywhere around $184. Jared Allen to stay with the Cavaliers, 5 years, $100 million. Lonzo Ball in a signing trade from the Pelicans to the Bulls, 4 years, $84 million. Kyle Lowry in a signing trade to the Miami Heat, 3 years. I think it was $90 million that they said. Mike Conley will be staying with the Utah Jazz for 3 years, $72.5 million. Will Barton, 2 years, $32 million to remain with the Denver Nuggets. Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel will be remaining with the New York Knicks on 3-year deals respectively. Cameron Payne, 3 years, $19 million to remain with the Suns. Torrey Craig, 2 years, $10 million to go to the Pacers. Duncan Robinson, 5 years, $90 million to remain with the Miami Heat. So yes, that is what is the big news. Oh, also with the Lakers, they had three agreements within the last hour. Dwight Howard, Wayne Ellington, and Trevor Ariza. Trevor Ariza can still ball. I don't care
he can.
His age. He can still ball. Wayne Ellington can shoot. And Dwight Howard is going to be that defender that can really protect Anthony Davis. And honestly, at the end of games, Dwight Howard is going to be on the floor unless it's a situation where you need a 3.
Mm-hmm.
But, even that, I mean, he still could get at least a rebound in a possession like that.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of games, I do see Dwight Howard, but at the moment, Marc Gasol's probably going to be the starter for that team. So yeah, man, that's going to be real fun with the Lakers. Real fun to see how all of that plays out. How these, Howard already has his ring, but how Russ is going to play with this team and the amount of the pieces around them. Alex Caruso is still a free agent, unrestricted free agent. Do you think he's going to return with the Lakers?
I would. Maybe it depends on how he feels of who he is as a player, and can he is playing for the Lakers stunning his growth as a player. Like, he's a star in his role and what he does. Like, that's why they play him. But if he feels that that's limiting him, the same way like the questions around Kyle Kuzma, because I feel like they're going to feature Taylor Horton-Tucker more. And I think they should, because I think Taylor Horton-Tucker is going to be a really good basketball player.
Before you continue, I need you to introduce me to Taylor Horton-Tucker, because I feel like every time I see him, he's just there. But I need you, because I've been hearing from quite a few people, THT, he the future. I need you to give me a synopsis on him.
Okay, so Taylor Horton-Tucker went to Iowa State. Iowa State low-key produces really good pro-caliber guards and pro-caliber players. Monte Morris went to Iowa State. There are plenty of Iowa State guys that get drafted, or they're at least highly touted prospects. So his team had a few of them, but he's the one that him and Tyrese Halliburton are the ones that like panned out. Like, they got drafted. So he was a second-round pick. He's a Chicago kid. His first season he was in the G League, and Tony Allen told this story where they're playing the Grizzlies affiliate or what have you. Tony Allen's in the building. Tony Allen, he gonna talk trash to anybody who ain't a Memphis Grizzly. And Taylor Horton-Tucker, because Tony Allen's a Chicago kid too, and Taylor Horton-Tucker, he lit the Grizzlies up, and he shot a 3 or something like that, and he looked over to Tony Allen and told him that he didn't belong here, that he was too good to be down here. And he was 18 at the time. Mm-hmm. So like he's 20 going on 21 now. And he's 6'5", 6'4", 6'5". And like I said, you just give him the ball, go play basketball. Like, you just whatever, man. Like, you're gonna make some mistakes. You're gonna shoot shots that maybe you shouldn't. But I think he's smart enough now. He'd be in year 3 playing with LeBron and AD and having veterans around. Now Russ, I think playing with and being under Russ would help him tremendously, because Russell Westbrook is like the best part of being impatient and the best part of taking what you think you can get as a basketball player. Like, Russell Westbrook for me is like proof that NBA players play hard, because they're like, he's the only player that I've ever seen that tangibly looks like he plays hard every single time.
Before you continue the conversation, breaking news. Evan Fournier has agreed to a 4-year deal that could be worth as much as $78 million with the New York Knicks.
Oh, wow.
How do you feel about that, Tillman?
I mean, Evan Fournier can play. My thing is, the team needs to develop RJ Barrett into an all-star caliber player, because RJ Barrett has the potential to be an all-star caliber player. And if Evan Fournier gets in the way of that, then he probably shouldn't be on the team. But if he doesn't, and you starting RJ Barrett at the 3, I mean, okay. Like, that's all I got for you is okay. And I guess it depends on who will be the point guard. I don't even necessarily mind RJ Barrett being the point guard. But, like, because it'll be the same thing that the Mavericks did with Luka. Like, Luka was a small forward when he was there at first, and then they were like, why not just give our best perimeter player the ball and let him figure it out? And so if RJ Barrett is their best perimeter player, he gets a better advantage because he's not like the freakish athlete that some other guys are that are his size. But if you put him at the point and you give him some screens, it's like I said, it's the same thing with Luka. Luka not no freakish athlete, but Luka seems to always create space for himself. And it's the same thing. Evan Fournier and Alec Burke are the same kind of player. Like they are guys that just get buckets. They may not give you 40, they may not give you 30, you know, most times in a month, but every once in a while, like, Evan Fournier got 22. Alec Burks got 23. And it's like it's efficient. Like they're not gonna take a whole bunch of shots to get their points. At the same time, they're not guys that help you get so much better that you can compete with a Milwaukee or a Brooklyn or even a Philly, even as Philly is currently constructed. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think Atlanta was that much better than the Knicks to where like I couldn't see the Knicks and the Hawks being 4-5 again. You know what I'm saying? Like it was that close. Like they all had the same record. You know what I'm saying? The Knicks just beat the Hawks in the regular season. So it's not the Knicks didn't push, you know, they didn't separate themselves from Atlanta, nor did I don't think the Hawks are that much better than the Knicks or anything like that either. Like he's a good player, so like whatever, I guess. Don't Google his name, I guess. That's all I got to say for that. Don't Google his last name.
I don't even know what you're referring to.
I'm not. Do not Google what a Fournier is. If you are Googling Evan Fournier, Google Evan Fournier. Put it in the search. Do not Google what a Fournier is. I'm saying this live on air. No. Like he even said, don't do it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Back to THT though.
Yes. Okay. So yeah. So like he's one of those players that you just go play basketball, and the ceiling is high. That's why people are always talking about, because the ceiling is high. Like there are always guys like that, and some pan out, some don't. Like it was like when, I mean, I guess you could say at the superstar level, it's like when James Harden was on OKC, and James Harden was Sixth Man of the Year, and it was like, if you let James Harden go, you're letting a potential elite scorer and playmaker leave, even though it doesn't seem like it because he came off the bench, right? And that's what he turned into, similar to like with Toronto and Tracy McGrady. Like I knew Tracy McGrady was going to be what he was in Orlando, and they let him go. The same way like the Spurs kept Manu Ginobili, because he may not be like 25 a game, but if you put Manu Ginobili on a team and you give him those kinds of minutes and those kinds of shots, you're going to be like, wow, why did San Antonio get rid of this guy? So that's what they're kind of banking on with THT. Will it work out? I don't know, but it's like what Portland did with Gary Trent. Like you don't play him, and then you give him a shot, and then he never leaves the rotation again. And $54 million later? Like,
yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? He's one of them type of players that at least that's what they hope him to become. Like, I don't know if he's expected to become an all-star or superstar or nothing like that. But if he became the starting two guard, like if he took that kind of leap, that's kind of what they're looking for.
Yeah, man, I had heard. I mean, now this is what I heard from Laker fans, that you know the ceiling was, you know, a Kobe type player.
No.
That's what I had heard.
No.
And I was just like, I don't see it. So I said, let me ask someone who ain't a Lakers fan, who's actually watched him.
Negative.
Let me get someone else to say that. Just tell me how he is. But
Absolutely
based on what you said, I'm gonna definitely I'm gonna try and do some film on him and see what, you know.
Yeah, no,
What the
he's not.
discussion
No, he's
is.
not. It's not a. It's not a Hall of Famer in the making necessarily. It's not. That's not where it's at. Like, you're not talking like that's Kobe Bryant is a different level of mental focus, and that isn't to say that THT isn't, but Kobe Bryant had burn moments like before he was even drafted that pushed him to become the Mamba mentality that we know today. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, THT was just drafted in the second round, and that could be a burn moment for him, the same way it was for Gilbert Arenas, where, like, you know, Gilbert thought he was going to be top 10 and he wasn't, and that pushed him to be, at least for that brief period of time, one of the best scorers in the NBA. It could be the same for THT, but you got to get your opportunity. Like, Gilbert didn't get his opportunity until they cut Mookie Blaylock.
Yeah.
So, like, if
question.
Right. But if this is that moment for him where they might let Caruso go, and they're signing veteran guys to, like, be veterans on the roster. If you beat those veterans out to get those minutes, that says a lot about you as a player.
Talking about just I'm gonna definitely drop this sound effect for this one. Just a minute ago, Alex Caruso, 4 years, $37 million deal with the Chicago Bulls.
Nice.
So he'll be. Did him and Lonzo? Yeah, him and Lonzo did play with each other, so they'll be back together. Oh, and by the way, some guy named Derrick Rose, 3 years, $43 million to stay with the Knicks. So yeah, but I had to drop the bomb for Caruso.
Nice. I'm not mad at it.
So Derrick Rose staying with your New York Knicks. Yep. But yeah, man. So hey, THT.
Like I said, that's one less.
Getting more bird.
That's one less player in the rotation. Like, I don't. No, I was just gonna say I don't know how many minutes that Ellington and Ariza are going to play. I figure that I wouldn't be surprised if one or both of them started. But either way, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if you THT, you need to view yourself as better than Wayne Ellington, getting more minutes than Wayne Ellington. Trevor Ariza can play the 3, so you don't necessarily have to beat him out, you know, for minutes. But Wayne Ellington is a 2 guard, and he's a journeyman 2 guard. And you are 21, going on 21, 22 years old with all the potential in the world. Wayne Ellington should not be playing more minutes than you. This was my thing with, like, when Lonzo got drafted and then they signed Rajon Rondo. I was like, if you are who you are, before he got traded, of course, but I was like, if you are who you are, Rondo should never start a game. If Rondo's starting a game over you, that says more about you than him. So, like, if you THT, yeah, okay, Wayne Ellington, that's a veteran guy, you know, he can help our team win, but I'm looking to be the starting 2 guard. I'm coming for the starting 2 guard spot.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. It's gonna be. Look, I will. Like I said, I'm gonna definitely look up some film on THT, and then I'm going to also be looking at him play live games this year. The Lakers should be exciting with this team. You did mention Wayne Ellington is a journeyman, but that Wayne
Ellington can shoot it though.
That jumper is.
He can shoot it.
It is definitely up there. We haven't even got to this topic though. Ben Simmons. We are more than a month away from the collapse that the 76ers had, and notably the collapse that Ben Simmons had. Do you think Ben Simmons will ultimately remain with the 76ers in the long term?
What is the long term? Like after this season?
More than past this season.
No.
Okay.
Because I think he just needs a fresh start too. Like, I don't think Ben Simmons is as bad as people say he is. I think that the issue is that it's not so much that he doesn't take threes, it's that he doesn't shoot shots. Like I've seen, like they had tape of his rookie year where he was taking it, but his rookie year Joel Embiid wasn't there, and he was taking mid-range jump shots and he was shooting fadeaways and he had post moves and drop hooks and stuff. Joel Embiid came through and crushed the buildings. Like Joel Embiid, if Ben Simmons wasn't as good as he is or has had as much talent and potential as he does, he'd be perfect with Joel Embiid because he's a pass first player with incredible vision and super athletic and a really good defender. It's just that Ben Simmons has the potential to be more than what he is. Like he's a 2-time All-Star and he doesn't shoot nearly as often as he should. Like he's not aggressive as often as he should. He should be. But that's because where he would potentially score, that's where Joel Embiid potentially likes to score. Like the low block, the mid-range face up, mid post, and the occasional three. That's where Joel Embiid operates. So if Ben Simmons doesn't have the ball, how is Ben Simmons effective on the court if he's not willing to cut? You know what I'm saying? Like it's either the ball and him making the decisions or he's watching Joel Embiid. The other guys know who they are. Like Tobias had his best season ever.
Yeah.
Because Tobias knows that wherever Joel Embiid isn't, I can be effective from there. Like he's not posting up where Joel Embiid would be posting up. He's shooting threes or he's working off the weak side where Joel Embiid isn't. Same with Seth Curry. Seth Curry is a spot up shooter and they run pick and roll for him to free him up. Other than a Ben Simmons transition layup, they really don't run any plays for Ben because Ben ain't aggressive. So if you're not willing to be aggressive, you got to go somewhere where they're going to make you. Okay, we'll give you the ball and make all the decisions. You're going to lose because you don't have Joel Embiid on your team anymore. But you'll at least see all of the things. He would have to shoot it. Like he would have to. And so like he needs a fresh start. And I think that the Sixers need to move away from him and towards a 4-man that's a little more traditional in the sense that they don't have the ball in their hands making decisions. Because you got Maxey, you got Shake Milton, you got Seth Curry. That's three guys that can handle the ball. And then you got Tobias, who's your wing scorer. That's enough. You don't need your 6'10" 4-man dribbling the ball and only shooting 4 times.
Who do you think is a good landing spot for him?
Let's see, amongst playoff teams. Let's just say amongst playoff teams, because I don't like sending superstar players, to purgatory or whatever.
That's disrespectful.
Because like he could play in Sacramento, dog. Like he really could, because like he'd be around Buddy Hield and Tyrese Halliburton. So like he could play in Sacramento.
Okay.
I would say like Portland's not a good fit, even though like the Portland deal where they would get CJ McCollum would be advantage Philly, and there'd be nothing for Ben Simmons in Portland. That doesn't work for him.
So hold on. You're thinking about when you say that you're saying a deal for Ben Simmons and McCollum. Okay.
Like I don't know
Honestly,
the other particulars, but that would be the two big names of it. Like no, they wouldn't. I don't think they would be able to get Dame. If they do, hey.
The money matches. I just don't know if yeah.
I don't know if I would do that if I'm Portland. I would do that if I'm Portland. Ben Simmons.
It's tough for Ben when you think about
it's because he dribbles the ball. That's literally why that's the reason. It's nothing else, because he fits anywhere else because he's a really good defender. He's long, he's athletic, he has great vision. It's just that he dribbles the ball and doesn't shoot it. And he doesn't have Steph Curry to offset not shooting the ball. Man, like he would have to give up the ball. Like anywhere else where he would have to go, he would have to give up the ball. He couldn't. Like he could play in Atlanta. Like let's say if John Collins extended, but let's say if John Collins was a free agent and they needed a 4-man, he could play in Atlanta with Trey, but he have to give up the ball. He would have to become a lob threat. Like it's weird for him because what he needs around him, like the shooting and the spacing, that's the new word now, the shooting and the scoring and the spacing to offset him just willing to pass. It is also negated by him being 6'10". So he would have to either play point guard or give up the ball and play the 4 for real. And there's the only team where he can play point guard is Philly. and the amongst the playoff teams, and if he plays the 4, then you're asking Ben Simmons to give up the one thing he's good at.
Oh my God.
So it's like, bruh, like you stuck here, even though you probably should not be stuck here.
Man, oh man. So tell me, we've been here 2.5 hours. I want to thank you for everything you do. Just want to recap some of the notable free agent agreements that have occurred. Kawhi Leonard still, as of 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, an unrestricted free agent. Chris Paul opted out yesterday but agreed to a 4-year deal worth $120 million. Kyle Lowry in a signing trade to the Miami Heat. Agreed to a 3-year, $90 million deal. Mike Conley will stay with the Jazz, 3 years, $74 million. Lonzo Ball in a signing trade, 4 years, $85 million to go to the Chicago Bulls. Duncan Robinson remains with the Heat, 5 years, $90 million. Tim Hardaway, 4 years, $72 million to remain with the Dallas Mavericks. Jared Allen, 5 years, $100 million to remain with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Will Barton, 2 years, $32 million to remain with the Denver Nuggets. Gary Trent Jr., 3 years, $54 million to remain with the Toronto Raptors. Some other notable signings or agreements, Kelly Olynyk, 3 years, $37 million to go to the Detroit Pistons. TJ McConnell, 4 years, $35.2 million to remain with the Pacers. Cameron Payne, 3 years, $19 million to remain with the Suns. Bobby Portis, 2 years, $9 million to remain with the Bucks. JaMychal Green, 2 years, $17 million to remain with the Nuggets. Reggie Bullock is Mavericks. Did we mention that, or did
I thought you said he should be signed with the Knicks?
You know what? I thought I did too, but I'm looking here now with now I gotta look back at the other page that I had up. I really thought I said the Knicks. So
yeah, I thought you said he was signed with the Knicks.
Yeah, it's now I'm seeing that it's Mavericks, but I don't know, maybe something has changed and didn't know. I know Alec Burke remains with the Knicks. Derrick Rose remains with the Knicks. Nerlens Noel remains with the Knicks. I do have a topic before I go. Mm-hmm. And this is not to shade Rich Paul. It's not, because I believe he is, at the end of the day, I believe he is one of the best agents in the NBA. Mm-hmm. But there's, the Montrezl Harrell deal, the Nerlens Noel passed on that deal with the Mavericks, and you have Marcus Morris, who was supposed to, it was supposed to be, what was the issue with Marcus Morris? There was some, I just remember there was a mix up with Marcus Morris, with which ultimately where he fired Rich Paul. I just can't remember the exact details, but I don't know. I gotta look through the list of the rest of the Rich Paul clients, the Clutch clients, to see how many of them are not on the Lakers. Tillman, I think. Let me unmute you. Maybe I did it. Hold on. Oh, it says your mic isn't connected, Tillman. But yeah, I just with Rich Paul, he's done well. When he's done well for LeBron. I'm not gonna sit here and act like he hasn't done well with LeBron and AD and some of those guys. Here you go. You're back.
Am I good? All right.
Yeah. But some of the I guess next tier of his clients, he's had a couple like where it's like, man, that didn't pan out. Or is this just something that happens with agents and because he's Rich Paul, we just know about him now?
I think it's something that just happens with players.
Okay.
Like we talked about earlier, like, I mean, hey, if something worked for you and you make enough money, I think that sometimes they take less just to stay in the cool and in a good environment. You know what I'm saying? Like for example, remember when before Chris Bosh suffered his irregular heartbeat, he had the deal in place with Houston. And
Yes.
You know, one of the things about getting your deal with Houston is there ain't no sales tax. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like there are other factors involved other than the most money, the chance to play for a championship, and whatever my significant other says. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, Bradley Beal loves it here in DC. You know, there's times where you just want to play with your friends. Like there are times where you want to play for your hometown. There are times where a coach or an organization revitalized your career, and that's where you want to stay. Maybe you bet on yourself with the smaller deal and get the bigger deal later. Maybe the other offers just weren't that good. Like for example, like somebody like Cameron Payne, who was a laughingstock up until Phoenix took a chance on him to put him in the rotation. Like I know one of my good friends is a Suns fan, and he the way I was talking about Elfrid Payton was the way he was talking about Cameron Payne. He's like, I don't even want this man in the game at all, never ever. And he played really well for Phoenix. So like, if you take a smaller deal, maybe you know it's another prove it situation. Your agent talks around the league and they say, no, you got to prove it again. You get on your winning team, the best situation for you, and you prove it again. Like Nerlens Noel was routinely hurt. And you kind of giving up on. I feel like when they send you to Oklahoma City, that they gave up on you. Like you know what I'm saying? Like not on some like not because like Oklahoma City can't be good or anything like that, but it's very clear that Sam Presti is trying to be selecting every player in a draft at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, you went out, Tillman. But yeah, I definitely feel. Definitely, I agree with you. Sometimes it's just sometimes it's just the situation with it's a myriad of things, and maybe that's what it is. And also, I believe sometimes it could just be sometimes agents do. It happens. I mean, look at Rob Pelinka. I mean, we can't sit here and say every client that he had was great because of the successes with Kobe Bryant.
Right.
We so yeah, that's probably what it is. That's probably what it is. A myriad of things, like you said. I still believe he's a good agent. So I'm not trying to sit here and be like, oh man, outside of LeBron and AD, it ain't looking good for him, because I mean he got John Wall some money too. And John Wall, I still think John Wall has enough in the tank to do damage, but he's in a situation now that isn't really beneficial. But yeah, Tillman, man, it's been great. I've been trying to see if anything broke while you were talking, just so we could report it. But man, we got a lot. We got a lot in this this NBA free agency special. Greatly appreciate it. But before we go, Tillman, man, you have a small business. I say small because you are the owner and operator, but definitely makes a big impact. Let everyone know where they can, what your business is, and where they can support.
Okay, so I make custom beaded jewelry from bracelets, necklaces, anklets, waist beads, all those kinds of things at Tillman's Trinkets and Things.com. It's all one word, Tillman's Trinkets and Things, and A-N-D, things that have their custom, have like customization boxes where you can fill in the details of what you'd like underneath the custom products, if you will. So like, say if you wanted a bracelet, you select your size, and then you say like, I want a red and blue bracelet or something like that, and you just put it in the box, and I'll get it on my end once you check out, once you buy it. Yeah, I've been at it for about 2.5 years now, and we're trying to grow and get it better, bigger and better.
For sure. I definitely got me. I bought a necklace from you, and people have been like, "Yo, where'd you get that from?" I was like, "Oh, it's my boy Tillman." So I don't know. Maybe you did an order for someone that saw mine. But yeah.
Maybe.
But yes, for those who are watching right now, you can definitely see the website right there on the screen. Tillman's Trinkets and Things. Spell it out right there. Tillman's Trinkets and A-N-D, not the ampersand, things.com. So definitely go check out Till and everything that he does. Great work over there. Support a black-owned business. Tillman, though, other than that, where can people catch, I guess, some of your journalistic ventures?
Well, I've written a few pieces for boardroom.tv.
Hey.
Yeah, so that's for
Seems like you might have went out there for a little bit, Tillman. Let me see. One of it's something on my end. But yeah, man, boardroom.tv. That's a big thing. Big thing, Tillman. Got big things going on. But yeah, any shout outs before you go, man?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Any shout outs before we go?
I'm just saying for everybody to just like jump out there. Like just be like, take your shot, shoot your shot. You got everything that you need to continue to go forward. It's a lesson that I've learned here recently with those kinds of things. So not a specific shout out per se, but just like, if you thinking about it and you unsure about where you're headed in terms of your capabilities, you have it in you, I promise. Because I'm pretty sure the thing that you're thinking about, it won't leave you alone. So that thing doesn't leave you alone because it has a purpose, and it's time to lean into that purpose and shoot your shot, jump out there.
Hey, great parting words from Tillman. Greatly appreciated for you coming on this NBA free agency special. Until next time, everyone, Sports Reality. Peace.